Shalom. Shalom to the brethren. And what up to everybody else? This is your Op, Brandon Lewis. And this is the Lunar Solar Shabbat Scripture Study, where we search the scriptures looking for ways to apply them to the life that we might become perfect. Too long have we read a scripture here and a scripture there, creating whole doctrine, never knowing the fullness of the context of those scriptures, the fullness and the context of those chapters. Shalom. Shalom to the brethren. And what up to everybody else? This is your Op, Brandon Lewis. And this is the Lunar Solar Shabbat Scripture Study, where we search the scriptures looking for ways to apply them to the life that we might become perfect. Too long have we read a scripture here and a scripture there, creating whole doctrine, never knowing the fullness of the context of those scriptures, the fullness and the context of those chapters and those books. And we have ignorantly made them say things that they did not say, made them intend things that they did not intend. May we now read them in the fullness, in the context that they were meant to be read in, and know what they were intended to teach us.
Hallelujah. Abinu, Shaba Shamayim, Itkuda Shamka, Tabua Makutka, Yashar Ratsunka, Kaba Shamayim Kan Ba Arat, Atlacham, Akunutan, Lanu Hayum, Usalach Lanu, Al-Hataim, Kapisha Sul Chimgam, Anachnu, Lachat Aim Lanu, Ual Dabianu, Lidi Nasayum, Ki Amkhalsanu Manhara, Ki Laka Hamamlaka, U Hagabura, U Hatap Arat, Launi, Aulamin. Abinu Yahweh, we thank you for this moon, for this opportunity to represent you, and we ask that you send your Ruach HaKodesh to envelop and just cover this entire platform, cover our mouths, our hearts, our minds, and everything in this dealing that is to represent you, so that we speak only your words, so that we represent you in the fullest of Abinu Yahweh. We thank you. We ask for your protection and your covering as we go throughout these days and these trials, as we fight off these spirits that try to attach themselves to us, and as we build up our community and our nation in you, Abinu Yahweh. Through you, all things are made new. Through you, all things are possible. We thank you for your word, for your truth, for your understanding, your binah, and for your wisdom, your chakmah, that we may apply these things to our lives and we may walk closer with you. We thank you, we thank you, we thank you. We tahila you, we will remember you always and forever. Ulam, hallelujah.
I lift your name when I don't know what to do. I'm just going. So much going on in my life right now. I'm gonna take this time. I'll lift my hands. I'll raise my voice. You're the one I love. I have no choice. I'm gonna wait on you. I am Lord. I ain't going nowhere. There's tears on my cheek right now. I'ma sing this song. I don't know how, but I'm gonna get this out. Get this on my chest. I'll wait on you, I will. I will. Oh, yes. I'm gonna wait on you forever. Forever. I'll praise your name. You're my confidence, my pride and joy. I know you build and destroy, then nowhere else I'd rather be. I'm compelled to worship you again. It's rising up. I'm gonna lift your name in this booth right now. Please, I need a touch from the master. I'm gonna lift your name. I'm gonna spread your fame. Nothing else gives me more pleasure than to glorify you. No. Nothing at all. I'm gonna lift your name. I'm gonna spread your fame. Nothing else gives me more pleasure, Lord. Break me down, crush my pride. I'm running home and I see your arms are open wide.
Right. Shalom to the brethren. What up to everybody else? This is your B. Lou, and this is the Lunar Solar Shabbat Scripture Study. So, Shabbat Shalom to those of you that know about such things. For those of you that do not, we are in the building. All praises to the Most High, y'all. Thanks to his being Yahushua HaMashiach, who the world knows as Jesus Christ. We are in the building. My Shai, my Ben is in the back, listening in. As you know, last week about this time we got into this. It's the same thing. It's just part two, and we into this. Acts chapter 15, verse 18 is where we starting at. The early days in the establishment of the assemblies slash churches and the persecution and endurance of the apostles or the Talmudim or the taught ones. It's the life of an Israelite found on YouTube and Facebook. Lunar Solar Shabbat Scripture Study, Beth Yasharal Media. So, uh, let me get this pulled up on the screen for you so we can get right on into the business. You know, I'm long winded enough. So, without further ado, they hit me with all the pop ups. Without further ado, we're going to get right on into this thing. Turn it down some, baby. Pardon me, y'all. All right. Share my screen. Let's right on into the business. Wow, they love to hit us with all the dang on pop-ups in the world. Well, I hope all of you are having a grand rising, a Boca Toe, a Boca Tube, or a Tube Layla, whatever time you might catch this video. I hope all is well with you. And if it is not, I pray that it is on the way to getting better. So that, yeah. So I would that this was a little bit bigger, to be honest with you. I would that it was a little bit bigger, but it's not. You can do it like that. Let's get it. Okay. The first book of Acts, we are in the wrong chapter. Acts chapter 15 and verse 1. But some men came down from Judea and were teaching, brethren, unless you are circumcised according to the customs of Moshe, you cannot be saved. So, for those of you who are late, we started off from shortly after Hamashiach was killed and the apostles received the quote unquote Holy Spirit and had began to minister unto the people the tube news or the good news regarding um, Hamashiach or Christ, quote unquote. Um, Shortly after that, Paul was uh, made a apostle by Yahusha on the road to Damascus, and then he and Barnabas were then made ministers to go out and to preach first to the Jews or the Yahudim and then to the Gentiles. So they have already been to several countries and established assemblies or quote unquote churches. And after doing this, they are getting a lot of uh, a lot of feedback, persecution from these assemblies. Um, it's just a lot going on with persecution, hating, things like that. So this is where we are picking up at with chapter 15 is churches are established, but it's hate coming forth and it's problems inside and outside of these assemblies. So verse 1, but some men came down from Yehuda and were teaching the brethren, unless you are circumcised according to the custom of Moshe or Moses, you cannot be saved. And when Paul and Barnabas had no small dissension and debate with them, Paul and Barnabas had some, and some of the others were appointed to go up to Jerusalem to the apostles and the elders about this situation. Well, about this question. So, being sent on their way by the assembly, they passed through both Phoenicia and Samaria, reporting the conversion of the Gentiles, and they gave great joy to all the brethren. So Paul and them is going back, letting the apostles know, because this is whole thing about Paul being wicked, Paul creating his own doctrine and all of this stuff, right? But here we see Paul going to report back. When you reporting back to someone, not only is it to bring them information, but it's almost as if you seek their approval of the information you are giving them, right? And you're seeking clarification on the matter. So you are You are seeing them as an authority to bring clarification to a matter. So if Paul was preaching his own thing, he was doing his own thing, ain't no need to check with Peter and him about nothing, because that's who he's going to speak with the 12 apostles that are still in Jerusalem. Now, this doctrine of Paul doing his own thing is saying that Paul is separate from the apostles doing his own thing, but here he is seeking the approval and seeking revelation from the apostles about a particular question. Let's be mindful of this. When there is this hate and this misinformation going on about Paul or Shaul, right? Verse 4, when they came to Jerusalem, they were welcomed by the assembly and the apostles and the elders. Now, you see this welcome? People would have you think they were, angry at him, backbiting, talking about, man, he out there preaching the false doctrine. He out there doing all this and all that, right? You know how people do. Talk about you like a dog and to help you with the least amount of fervency we can. But here we see they are received. They are received, well received, right? Welcomed by the assembly and the apostles and the elders, and they declared all that the Most High had done with them. But some believers who belong to the party of the Pharisee, it's always some haters in there. Now, who rose up? It wasn't the apostles that rose up and said, hey, man, what y'all been doing? We heard y'all been talking about this. Y'all been talking about that. No, it's not them. It's somebody outside what Hamashiach had set up. He set up elders. He set up leaders to lead in what he would have the people to know and to understand. These aren't the people that have issue with Paul. It's people outside of that. It's people that really ain't even in the know of what Hamashiach is talking about. They're not apostles. They're not appointed by quote unquote Christ. But some believers who belong to the party of the Pharisees rose up and said, it is necessary to circumcise them and to charge them to keep the law of Moshe. We got a lot of people like this today. We got a lot of people like this today. When we come into a certain knowledge and we are speaking of the things in which Yah requires and the things in which he doesn't require, or in which we are unable to fulfill. Paul is talking about not circumcising yourself. For one, he gave specifics in his letter. Says if he didn't call you circumcised, don't get yourself circumcised. If he didn't, place it upon your heart, right? Reveal to you strictly that you ought to be circumcised, don't go do it. Right? There's no need for you to do it thinking you fulfilling something unless you are fulfilling a request of his. Right? So, and likewise, me and others, me and my brother in particular, speak about certain doctrines and things we should do or shouldn't do, and we get a lot of flack from, I would say, very pharisaical type people, right? I don't even know if that's a word, but we're gonna use it today. Pharisaical type of people that's claiming about clinging to some old way that it used to be done like this. Oh yes, it was these people are not talking for no reason. The Pharisees right here, they're not speaking for no reason. Just like the people that was against me and my brother, not was, still are, right? Against me and my brother. They not saying what they saying for no reason, right? Talking about things of old. It is necessary. Now we gotta, hey, listen, hey, hold on. Necessary is what they talking about. That means it got to be. If it's necessary, it's a must. You got to do this old stuff. It is necessary to do what? To circumcise them and to charge them to keep the law of Moshe. What are some of the things that Moshe issued? Now, this is what gets me. Moshe issued an array of things, many of which they hold to, right? Many of which they hold to. Then there's some things that Moshe said, they said, no, we can't do that. They said we can't do that. But it nowhere does it say verbatim, don't do this. But in their wisdom, right? I would say selective wisdom, in a selective wisdom, they are saying because we don't have this, we can't do this. Now, they say because we don't have our own land, because we don't have our temple, we can't do sacrifices. Or because we have a Mashiach, we can't do sacrifices. That's what they'll say, right? Although it never said, well, Paul does iterate that that he is looking for not only Paul, okay, before Hamashiach came, uh I would like to say Isaiah said that it's not the fatness of rams that he desires, but obedience. But you know what? The people in the land didn't stop sacrificing rams, brethren. Even to the time of Hamashiach, they still were sacrificing animals, okay, on a daily, on a regular. They didn't say, well, Hamashiach came, we're not doing it no more. All right. But anyway, I'm talking about selective wisdom of knowing what we should do and what we shouldn't do as regards to what we have and don't have. You know, what we were told to do certain things in the land, specified in the land, and certain things uh, were mandated to be in the land. But now we do these things outside of the land, and that is the problem. Okay. But the Pharisees are saying that Paul is excluding a thing of old that should be included. Now, 6, the apostles and their elders were gathered together to consider this matter. Now, they right now. It's in the old. Oh, it's in there, right? So after there had been much debate, it ain't just a one and done thing, because apparently Hamashiach didn't plainly tell them. He couldn't have plainly told them because there wouldn't have been no need to debate, right? Debate is there's leeway in there. There's leeway in there. But apparently, we'll see who won. After there had been much debate, Peter rose up and said to them, Peter is the shafet, if you will. He's the judge. He's the rock. He's the cornerstone of the assembly. Okay? Peter rose up and said, brethren, you know that in the early days the Most High made choice among you that by my mouth, he's letting them know he's the cornerstone now, that by my mouth the Gentiles should hear the word of the Basora, or the good news, and believe. And Yah, who knows the heart, or the Nephash, bore witness to them, giving them the Ruach HaKodesh, just as he did to us. See, Yah's approval is noted by quote unquote miracles, or his hand being placed upon somebody, not just people talking. Okay, we're not just going off of talking and appearance. We're talking about things that should not be being, and the only way it could be is by quote unquote divine intervention, right? And this is what Peter is saying, is that when y'all heard us speak y'all language, knowing we have no way of knowing y'all language, but we spoke it. Not only spoke one individual language, but spoke multiple languages at the same time in one sentence. And all of y'all understand it in your own tongue. You knew that was a quote unquote miracle. That was y'all showing you that he is with us. So he's saying that he did this same thing. He did it to the Gentiles, showing what? That he is with them like he is with us. 9, it says, and he made no distinction between us and them, no respect of persons, but cleansed their hearts by Amunah or trust. Because they trusted in him, he cleansed them. Right? See, we need to start putting these things in the right connotation. Because you said, cleanse the heart by faith. This is an overused word. Faith is very, very overused. And I'm not sure the weight of what's being said is summed up in faith all the time. Now, those who have a great understanding, they might get it. But those who are babes, I don't think they always get faith because it's been kind of dumbed down, right? It's like love or whatever. People say love, I love you, you love me. Yeah, you love me, but you don't do what I say. You love me, but you'll hit me in the face, you'll leave me, you cheat on me, all these old things, right? So it's been dumbed down. So trust, trusting is a lot more detailed and has new weight, if you will. All right, 10. Now, therefore, why do you make trial of Yah by putting a yoke? Ooh, yoke. Mean it's heavy. Mean it's slavery. Okay? Meaning bondage. That's what me and my brother said. Why are y'all putting a yoke on the people telling you that it's mandatory to have these gatherings and these feasts? Why do you do it? Same thing. These people want to know, why ain't the Gentiles being circumcised? It's in the law. It's in the law. That's what y'all saying about the feast days. It's in the law. See, we telling you it's a yoke that you not keeping because you're not in the fullness of it. You're not in the land like you say you in the land. Okay, you ain't got all the instruments in which you said to have. Now you can keep the ruachni of the matter, but you're not just keeping the ruachni of the matter because you don't have to have a party to keep it in the ruach. Okay, you don't have to have a party to keep it in the ruach or the spirit. You don't have to have a get together with alcohol and songs to keep the spirit of a tabernacle, to keep a spirit of a uh uh Passover. You don't have to do that, but you do it because you want to have your own version of holidays. You got to do something, but you're misrepresenting. If we want to talk about Tobit Daddy, Tobit Daddy ain't gather up all the people that was cast out and say, hey, come to my house. We gonna celebrate the feast at my house. Everybody come. No. They were in bondage, in captivity. In his captivity, he went and fed one that didn't have to feed himself. A vagabond, one who was destitute and in need. He provided for the feast. I don't have no problem with people doing that. If such and such feast is on such and such day, and on that day you go out and get homeless people and feed them, I ain't got no problem with that. Listen, may my mouth be far from open if it be against that. You know what I'm talking about? May it be shut up like Yehukanan daddy was. No, I'm talking about listen, he couldn't say nothing to the appointed time. Let my mouth be like that if I'm gonna speak against you feeding the homeless for the feast. But you coming together, as I say all the time, getting drunk and getting musty, uh, that's not what the scripture's talking about, brethren. So Peter is speaking here about such things. Now, therefore, why do ye make trial of Yah by putting a yoke upon the neck of the disciples, which neither our fathers nor we have been able to bear? Right? Um, that word should be something else. That word should be something else in 10. Hold on. Let's go to the KJVs. I don't like how they just said that. I do not like how they just said that, brethren. Let's get up in here. Acts 15, the Apocrypha KJV. Acts 15 and 15. Hold on. Oh, 10. Now, therefore, why tempt ye the Most High to put a yoke upon the neck of the disciples? Now, this is a little bit more serious here because it's not you just messing with the disciples. It said, why tempt ye Yah? So when you're doing something that Yah has not commanded to be done, it says you tempting Yah. Why are you telling people to keep feast days in a foreign land as if you keeping them like you would have kept them in the land? Or along the lines of how you would keep them in the land, gathering together, having merriment and feast and all this. It don't say Tobit was in any kind of merriment when he invited that man in his house to eat. It just said he invited him to eat. It didn't say nothing by praising and worshiping. It didn't say nothing about all this stuff that we do. He didn't charge them $1,500 to come in and eat, right? He didn't charge them $1,500 to come in, take a shower and all that. No, it was all free. It was all on him, right? So you putting all these charges and all these requirements down, all these inconveniences down on the people. It says you are tempting Yah, and it says in that tempting you putting a yoke on the neck of the disciples, the people that want to know, people that want to learn something, the people that want to seek Yah. You're putting a yoke upon his neck. You're not putting a yoke on somebody's neck, inviting them to a feast that they otherwise wouldn't have. That you feeding the needy, that you attending to the needs of the needy. The man didn't have no party. The man invited a homeless person to eat for the feast. For those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, it's in the book of Tobit. Tobit, I believe, is during the time of Jonah. You hear about Jonah going to preach to Nineveh. Nineveh at that time was under the occupation of the Assyrians. For those of you that don't know, the Assyrians took northern kingdom into captivity, right? Under King Solomon's son, the 12 tribes split up into two kingdoms. Okay. Shortly after that, the kingdom of the north or northern kingdom was led into captivity by the Assyrians. The Assyrians came back and tried to take southern kingdom under captivity, but they were unable to do that. Okay. So this is the time period of them being in the land of the Assyrians, namely Nineveh. That is where Tobit took place. And Tobit, um, his his problems actually started really shortly after keeping his feast because he slept outside. Something happened. What happened? I think somebody died or something. He was unclean, so he didn't come back into his house unclean. He slept outside. While he was sleeping outside, a bird pooped in his eye and made him blind. So the whole story kind of goes from there. But anyway, we're talking about how requirements of the Old Testament is not all required. And the Pharisees are standing up because Paul has taught that the Gentiles don't have to be circumcised. The Pharisees are saying in the Old Testament we were circumcised. Peter is standing up to put a difference between the Kodash and the profane, asking the Pharisees, now therefore, why tempt ye Yah? Put ye a yoke upon the neck of the disciples, which neither our fathers nor we able to bear. But we believe that through the esteem or the favor of the Master Yahushua HaMashiach, we shall be saved, even as they. Then all the multitude kept silent. Man, I must ain't got the words Peter got, because when Peter told them that ain't it, they got quiet. When I tell y'all that ain't it, I get all kind of hate mail and videos made against me and all kind of stuff. You know what I'm talking about? But it's okay. Then all the multitude kept silent and gave an audience to Barnabas and Paul, declaring what miracles and wonders Yah had wrought among the Gentiles by them. And after they had held their peace, James answered, saying, Men and brethren, hearken unto me. James, the brother of Yahusha, I believe. Simeon hath declared how Yah had at the first, did visit the Gentiles to take out of them a people for his name. Simeon, he's talking about Simon Peter or Shimon Cuff in the Abri. And to this agree the words of the Nabi, or Nabin, or prophets, as it is written. After this I will return and build again the tabernacle of David, or Daud, which is fallen down, and I will build again the ruins thereof, and I will set it up. Oftentimes, we think all these prophecies is about in the future, in our time. But they're telling you that this particular prophecy was being fulfilled in that day, right? He had to stabilize it. Now, granted, the tabernacle of Daud went through a lot more beatings and a lot more tearing down. But because he established what he established then, we are able to live today because we're going back to these writings. We're going back to the things written of old and gaining power and gaining knowledge and understanding from these writings and these things that he established then, right? Because he did what he did to the apostles and having them to spread the words that they spread, we're reading those words and reading about those instances, and we are sustaining and we're being given life in a land of death. If you don't think we're living in the land of death, I need you to open your eyes and see, and open your ears and hear, because these people, our enemies, seek to destroy us in every way, from the inside to the outside, from things seen and things unseen. They have placed death upon us. We are passed about with a greater cloud of enemies, beset on all sides. Okay? And it is only by the knowledge and understanding of the Most High and his quote unquote grace or his favor upon us that we are not consumed. Told I, yeah. That the residue of men, why is he saving us? Why is he keeping us? I just told you what it was. Without even considering this verse, I told you what happened because we're looking upon these things and we live today. He's saying, he set it up that the residue of men, who are we? We are the residue of the people that lived in that day. The residue of them. It should have been billions of us by now living today. But because of the destruction of our enemies, there's only a residue left. That the residue of men might seek after the master and all the Gentiles upon whom my name is called, saith the master. We are supposed to reciprocate. We are supposed to wow, look at that. We are supposed to be a light unto the Gentiles, upon whom my name is called, saith the master who doeth all these things. Known unto y'all, all are all his works from the beginning of the world. But do you have anything to add or what to say about that? Man, you got some questions about it? You just want to get up in here. Come on. Let's see what we got up in there. Okay. Get head up in there. All right. Known unto Yah are all his works from the beginning of the world. Wherefore, my sentence is that we trouble not them which from among the Gentiles are turned to Yah, but that we write unto them that they abstain from the pollutions of idols. Do you know what pollutions of idols embody? It didn't say keep your own feast day. No, but you don't keep the feast days of the Gentiles. You know why? Because the feast days of the Gentiles are to idols. Okay? They are in worship of idols. When you do the research, every last one of them, the origin of it is to an idol. All right. Uh, hey babe, check the audio on this for me. But that we write unto them that they abstain from pollutions of idols and from fornication. Now, a lot of people would immediately make this sexual, but it's always about idols. Okay, fornication really is meant towards uh, uh, idolatry, and I will prove it to you. I will definitely prove it to you. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna show you about the fornication one time, real quick. I'm gonna show you about the meaning of fornication. Let's show him that, man. You want to show him, Papa? Yes, we can get it. I'll show you about the fornication. He said that to abstain from fornication. Matter of fact, we could go and look. Well, let's go to the Hebrew of it first, and then we can go into the Greek. Because the Hebrew, I think, is a lot different than the Greek. The Abri says, commit fornication is zana. Okay?
Strong's H 2181. Zana.
Zana means commit fornication, to be a harlot, to play the harlot. That's what the Most High says about us as a nation, that we have played the harlot, that we have lain under every green tree. Do you know what he was talking about? Us doing that? Not that we was having sex, but that instead of serving and worshiping him, that we were serving and worshiping other powers, other mighty ones, or quote unquote other gods. Right? Speaking of being uh uh a whore, just like one that sleeps around, he's saying we were sleeping around with the other powers, meaning we was not being exclusive to him, right? We are called his wife, and likewise, we have been called a whorish wife. Okay, so it's not good. It said to be a harlot, to act as a harlot, to commit fornication, to commit adultery. Okay, as I just explained to you, as his wife, spiritually, he says we have been committing adultery. How have we committed adultery? Because we have lain with other powers, brethren. Okay, that's what we got to understand. That's what we got to understand. Lain with other powers. To be a cult prostitute, to be unfaithful to Yah. That's what I'm trying to tell you. You know what I'm saying? I'm putting it down for you so you can see. To commit adultery, to force into prostitution, to commit fornication. Nowhere is it really talking about sex, but it's talking about uh, it's talking about spiritual fornication. So now let's get into the New Testament, into the Greek of it all. No, no, Papa. Let's get into the Greek of it all. Abstain from meats and fornication. Acts chapter 15. Let's get into it. Pornea. Let's see if it's got the same thing. As we see. Hold on.
Strong's G 4202. Parnaya.
Panaya.
Parnaya.
Par. It's a tongue thing. Par. Par. You see, it's different here. See, it's adultery, fornication, homosexuality, lesbianism, intercourse with animals, sexual intercourse with close relatives, sexual intercourse with a divorced man or woman, the worship of idols, of the defilement of idolatry as incurred by eating the sacrifices offered to idols. Where is it talking about unmarried sex at? Okay, church has really church Kukos and them. Okay, we're not talking about Tony. Okay, we're talking about the Greek deity. Uh, has given us a bad bill of goods. You see, you got many people refraining from unmarried sex, but they're not refraining from uh 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 idolatry. Okay, you say I'm not gonna have sex before I get married, but I'm gonna say Merry Christmas. Okay, we gotta understand. We gotta get understanding. We gotta know what we ought to do and what we ought not to do. I hope y'all can hear me. I have my microphone up under my mouth because of my son's head. But the idolatry, the defilement of idolatry, as incurred by eating the sacrifices offered to idols. See, not only should we not eat, we shouldn't even touch. So, Mama, this is what we got to understand. So, let's get back into this Acts 15. I hope you got some knowledge from that, some revelation from that. It said, should the Gentiles be circumcised? He said, no, let's write unto them. This is what they got to do. These are the things they got to do. Now, all of this encompasses a lot of other things. Okay. They abstain from the pollutions of idols. This automatically means you can't be eating these other foods. You know why? Because the other gods allow you to eat these other foods. You know what your power don't do? Your power don't allow you to eat these unclean foods. Right? Abstain from fornication. The same thing. Certain things the other powers allow. Certain things your power don't allow. Okay? And from things strangled. Your power don't allow it. It said you can't eat something that's been strangled. Huh? Want to get down? No. You stand right here with that. It says, and from blood. Your power said don't eat blood. So these are major, major things that he's speaking of. Is that when you abstain from these things, a lot of these things relate to defiling one's temple, right? And one's heart and one's mind. Because if you're doing all this, how are you going to stay undefiled if you defiled from the inside? Okay. If you talk about Merry Christmas, you defiled from the inside. At least um you aren't seeing, you don't have an understanding of what Christmas is if you saying it. So you pollute it from the inside, right? If you eat defiled animals, you defiled in understanding and you are defiled in the body because I'm sure there is some type of parasite, some type of infestation put in the meat, if for no other reason than because it's accursed. Okay. You think you're gonna have some good accursed meat? How does that work? You know what I'm saying? How you gonna have good accursed? It don't work. 21. For Moshe of old time had in every city them that preach him, being read in the synagogues every Sabbath day. What he's saying is that this is deep too, right? In the fact of people been being preached. These same Gentiles, Paul found all these Gentiles in the synagogue. That's what we got to understand. They weren't street preaching. they were going to synagogues and preaching to the people about Yahushua HaMashiach. So prior to them preaching Yahushua HaMashiach, they was learning about the Old Testament. They was learning about Moshe. So these people aren't ignorant of being circumcised. That's the thing. But being circumcised ain't saved them folks. If they were saved, Yahushua wouldn't have told us to go preach him to them. This is what we need to understand. Okay? Your people been keeping feast days. And they kept feast days in the land. And they kept feast days with the temple, with the priest. And it never saved them. I mean, that's a mic drop. That is a mic drop and a half. I think we need some gunshots or something to kind of emphasize what we got going on here. Moshe being preached about circumcision ain't saved these people. That's why we've been given the mission to come preach to them. Keeping feast days ain't saved these people. That's why they got cast out of the land and thrown out. That's why Yahusha got to be preached to them. The simpleness of Yahusha, the freedom in Yahusha. Be it, be it, live it, embody it. That's the salvation. You wanna keep something on the outside. He said, be it on the end, be it on the inner. That's why they said, don't circumcise the outer, circumcise the inner. They don't want to, they don't want to get it. They don't want to get it. This what got them. This what got them chased. This what got them killed. People don't want to hear it. I've been casted out of assembly for this. Damn, people don't want to talk to me no more. These people ain't gonna let me come join them to nothing. I've been cast out for talking like this. They don't get it. For Moshe of old time had in the city them that preach him, being read in the synagogues every Shabbat day. What he said is that if they do that, that's on them. Paul didn't tell them don't. He said you don't have to. I'm gonna tell you something. I have said we shouldn't keep them or we shouldn't do them how we've been doing them. There needs to be a strong modification as to how we do this whole thing. As I stated earlier about um, you know, being of service to others, keeping it in the ruachni, in the spiritual way, not having a party. Okay, they're all feasts for you to party. Okay, your Shabbat is a party day. It's a celebratory day. It's a resting day. New moon is a celebratory day. You know what you're celebrating? Y'all's creation of the Arat. Okay, because that's the beginning. He created. You said Todayah. The celebrating of a new month, a new beginning. That's what you celebrate. You got celebratory days that ain't got nothing to do with captivity. Your feast days was for your land. And your offerings and things that you gave to y'all went to those in need, not to party, for those in need. So if you're going to take your stuff and give it to those in need, that's a totally different set of circumstances. Let that be the whole of it. Instead of you having some type of celebration that was meant to be in your land. New moon ain't meant to be in your land. Now, there's people that say that. People that say it's in the land, but your months got to be counted wherever you at. Okay? Your weeks got to be counted wherever you at. You can't say, well, I don't live in Jerusalem, so I ain't going to count my months. I don't know when a new money is. No, you got to count that everywhere. Okay? Now, whether you observe that new month of the time of Jerusalem or whatever, that's neither here nor there. That's up to you. But a new month is a new month. However you choose to start it, it still is still celebratory. Shabbat is The seventh day, regardless of how you do it, is still celebratory. Then please it, the apostles and the elders and the whole assembly, to send chosen men of their own company to Antioch with Paul and Barnabas. You see how it's a very oblique thing to stamp something with approval, to show approval. They're not sending just Paul and Barnabas back with the letter. No, they sending men that come from them with them. So Paul and them gonna say, hey, these brethren came straight from Peter and them, and they gonna testify to who they are and where they came from. It's not just a letter, because our people, you know what they'll say? You wrote that. How we know you ain't writing? So you need proof upon proof. That's why they sent chosen men with them to be a testimony that this is what we say. Okay, that's why y'all had to stamp the apostles with miracles and with signs and wonders as a stamp. Okay, two or three witnesses say, "Hey, this is what it is. I'm with this." So they gave two or three testimonies as well. Paul and Barnabas. I'm pretty sure a written letter, and also men with them. Men with them. Okay, chosen men of their own company to Antioch with Paul and Barnabas, namely Judas, surnamed Barsabbas, and Silas, chief men among the brethren. And they wrote letters by them after this manner. See, they did write letters. The apostles and elders and brethren send greeting unto the brethren, which are of the Gentiles in Antioch and Syria and Cilicia. For as much as we have heard that certain which went out from us have troubled you with words, subverting your souls, saying, ye must be circumcised. Now, I would imagine that um which this also is what made Abraham great, right? The fact that he was a grown man and submitted himself to circumcision. Okay, this is not a sweet thing. This ain't about having anesthesia and being put to sleep. No, of a sound mind and sound body. That man took his penis and cut the skin off of it. Okay, very, very grievous thing to do to oneself. Okay, that's how they killed everybody in Shechem because they was all writhing in pain from getting circumcised. Okay, it's not sweet. Okay, so when you come and tell men, that's what you got to do. I can only imagine being told to do something like that today. Take my penis and cut skin off of it with a rock, a sharp rock. Hold on, is there another way? You know what I'm talking about? Can we do this another way? This is what they telling these people, and it's grieving these people. These people love the Most High. They want to be saved. They say, "Hey, man, listen, you got to take this rock." Or at that time, I'm sure it had to progress to having a sharp knife or something. But you got to take this and you got to circumcise yourself, which I'm sure it turned a lot of people from hearing the word. They're like, "Nah, I ain't doing all that. I ain't doing all that." You tell some people they got to give up pork. They ready to quit. Nah, I ain't doing all that. I ain't trying to do all that. Man, you tell them they got to cut their penis skin off. So he's saying is that it's a yoke, it's a bondage that you put on these people that you shouldn't be doing. You shouldn't be doing it. For as much as we have heard that certain which went out from us have troubled you, it's troubling. Oh no, please don't make me do it. Subverting your soul. You're keeping them from the kingdom because they like, I'm not, well, I may as well, I can't have anything else to do with this because I'm not doing that. What are they telling you? Ye must be circumcised and keep the law, to whom we gave no such commandment. We ain't told you that. Show us where y'all said keep feast days in a foreign land. Show us where the apostles said keep it. You can't do it. You can't do it. You got what Paul said to keep it spiritually. Let us keep the feast. He didn't say let's get together and get some drink at my house. No, he was talking about keeping ourselves from leaven of sin. Okay, it seemed good unto us, being assembled with one accord, to send chosen men unto you with our beloved, with our uh uh Yaladim, I think that is Yalid, beloved, Paul and Barnabas, Barnabas and Paul, men that have hazarded their lives for the name of our Master Yahushua HaMashiach. We have sent therefore Yahudis and Silas, who shall also tell you the same things by mouth. We want you to be of no confusion about what we talking about. Because you might say Paul and Barnabas, nah, they lying. You know what I'm saying? You might say, um, as I said earlier, this letter we write, you might say they wrote it. But here are two men that's going to swear by mouth that what we are telling you in this letter and that Paul and Barnabas are telling you are true. So we see that by two or more witnesses, a thing is always confirmed. They ain't changed nothing. For it seemed good to the Ruach HaKodesh and to us to lay upon you no greater burden than the necessary thing. So it is a burden involved. Don't think it's gonna be sweet. This is also to show you how great of a sacrifice Abraham made. Okay, because he was the first to do it. Now, granted, in the Old Testament, Gentiles did have to circumcise themselves. Okay, but I think that was mainly for those that wanted to eat of the Passover. I don't think it was generally commanded, but if you wanted to keep the Passover, I think then you had to circumcise. But these, huh? Okay, I'm sorry. Shout out to my baby. It was a feast that they couldn't have it all, but it was some feast that if you was trying to participate in, you had to be circumcised. Maybe not Pesach. They might have been cut off completely from the Pesach. Uh, that would lead to Hamashiach saying he only came to the lost tribes of Yasharal, right? Because they sin under the law, and under the law, he had to be that for them. Uh, Strangers wouldn't sin under the law, really. They are apart from it. So it wouldn't take him dying from them. Uh, I would imagine. So shout out to my baby for that. You know, I had misspoke, but it is something to do with getting circumcised. Uh, this is a study, so let's see can we find it real quick. Gentiles circumcision in Old Testament. What was they circumcised at? Genesis 7. Gonna go take it to the son of the covenant. Slaves. Let's go to slaves. Because they wouldn't call Gentiles in there. Uh, Exodus 12. Go to Exodus 12 real quick. We at 28 and 15. Matter of fact, let's just go open up another one. Let's prove it out. Let's prove it out what I'm talking about. Because I messed up and my baby didn't caught me. So now we got to go in and pull this thing on up for you. So give me 1 second. I'm getting everything straight on my other screen so I can share it for you. We're looking for Exodus 12.
Exodus 12. They don't hit me with that thing until I go to blow the screen up. That's crazy. Every time I blow it up. Turn the air on, but it's time. Okay, Exodus 12 and 48. Okay, Exodus 12 and 43 says, and the mighty master said unto Moshe and to Aaron, this is the ordinance of the Passover. There shall no stranger eat thereof. That's what my baby was talking about. I appreciate her. But every man's servant that is bought for money, when thou hast circumcised him, then shall he eat thereof. Oh, okay, well, I was right. So if you are a stranger, you can't eat. You have to have circumcised oneself to come in to eat the Passover. So I was right and wrong at the same time. I was right when I first stated, and I got even wronger when I changed it up. 45. A foreigner and an hired servant shall not eat thereof. In one's house shall it be eaten. Thou shalt not carry forth out of the flesh abroad out of the house, neither shall ye break a bone thereof. So let's go back here and get a context of it. And the mighty master said unto Moshe and to Aaron, this is the ordinance of the Passover. There shall no stranger eat thereof, but every man's servant that is bought for money. Now, there is a difference between a stranger and one bought for money. Speak about it. Yeah. Well, you had okay. You had strangers in other parts of the land. Say, I'm from Judah. I live in one of Judah's cities, and I'm traveling somewhere. And on my way to traveling, well, even then, I wouldn't be a stranger. I would be a sojourner. If I stop in a tribe of or in the city of another tribe, I would be sojourning in that city. That's not a stranger. So you had other people traveling places, I guess, through our land, just like we travel through Egypt and its places and Edom, right? We were strangers there. So what it's saying is that if these people are here during Passover time, they can't eat of it. But it's saying is that if you have a servant you done bought for money, that means you own them. It's a difference between buying someone. When you buy someone, usually you own them for life. Now you have people that give themselves to you for a certain amount of time. That's not the same. It's a hired servant. So that hired servant is not really your possession like one bought for money, right? They could give themselves to you and say, look, you know what? I want to stay your servant. That's when you have to put the hole in their ears and all of that, right? It's like, okay, you mine now, whatever. So what they're saying is your possession got to be circumcised. Them the only ones who could eat of the Passover, but just random people passing through, random people willy nilly, they can't eat the Passover. And these are the kind of people they ain't gonna get circumcised anyway, right? They not gonna go through that pain and the bondage or whatever. So as a as a correction to my correction earlier, I was right earlier. It's the Passover in which one has to be circumcised, but it has to be one servant. It can't be a stranger. It has to be one who has committed themselves to one of the houses of Yasharal, right? Submitted himself. So that's a deeper level of ownership and family. You saying you are submitting yourself to the authority of one of the houses. Christianity would have a big problem with this. A big problem with this because it's like we don't do slavery. Slavery is evil, and no, many people love their masters. It's a script that says if you give your servant a wife and he is serving you for a certain time, if he wants to leave, he can leave. But if you gave him that wife, he could he has to leave without the wife. She's yours to keep. But if he want to keep the wife and his children, he could choose to stay. And if he stay, he gonna be yours forever. I mean, this is this is biblical mandates. And it's like we don't really be believing the book like that, man. We don't really be. It's cool to be saved and all, but when it comes to like real hardcore values and things like that, we're not really about that life like that, you know. But they'll use these same principles in the church about serving your master, about doing all this stuff, but not the totality of what that means. When you in a man's house, you're responsible for that man just like you are your own children. That's why he get to eat the Passover because he's yours. You own him. Just like you own your child, that's your child. You own your wife, that's your wife. You own that servant, and you're responsible for everything that he do. A lot of people are leaders in the assemblies, and they got this same responsibility, but they acting like they don't got it. You're responsible for these people just like they're your own children, man, and you treat them like they strangers. I mean, hey, that thing deep. That thing is deep, deep. Shout out to everybody, man. Hit that like button. Speak to your brethren. Say shalom. But shalom to you. So let's get back to Acts 15 because we are way behind. We are an hour into this joint and we are in chapter 15. We might not make it to 18 at all. For it seemed good to the Ruach HaKodesh and to us to lay upon you no greater burden than these necessary things. That ye abstain from meats offered to idols, and from blood, and from things strangled, and from fornication, and from which ye keep yourselves. Ye shall do well, fare ye well. So when they were dismissed, they came to Antioch, and when they had gathered the multitude together, they delivered the epistle or letter, which when they had read, they rejoiced for the consolation. You see the consolation? These people really didn't want to circumcise themselves. And we'll sit and say this is really where Paul got off at because he told them people they didn't have to be circumcised. When the grievousness of the circumcision, for one, the circumcision was to show the the zealousness of Abraham towards Yah that he would do such a thing, right? And it's also to show the zealousness of a stranger and sojourner to become a part of the house of Yasharal. Okay, because at that point Yasharal was supposed to have been born circumcised on the 8th day. So why would you not be? Okay, so which goes to show you that we are Gentiles. We weren't born circumcised on the eighth day. And a lot of us were circumcised and it ain't saved us. Because we still like them. We still have to be preached Yahushua HaMashiach. We still have to be preached about the circumcision of one's heart, about the being reborn, but not of a woman, right? But of the fire and water. We still gotta be taught this. Keeping feast days didn't save us. Being circumcised when we was born ain't saved us. What's gonna save us? The hearing and the doing of the word of the Most High Yah, that is Yahushua HaMashiach. We 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 missing this. Okay? Now granted, it's certain things that are of the old that we apply to our lives that are pertinent to us. I'm gonna tell you something. Keeping the feast day as a party ain't pertinent to us. Keeping the attributes of the feast day is most definitely pertinent to us. Most definitely pertinent to us. In captivity and out. Certain things are in captivity and out. Certain things are out. When do you do this? Out of captivity. When do we stone people? Oh, out of captivity. You would say that out of captivity is when we stone. That's when we're in our own land, when we got our own power. Then we can keep this ordinance. But we can't keep the ordinance because we ain't got it. When can we have the feast day how it's written? Oh, when we in out of captivity. When we are set up and structured. Are we set up and structured now? No. So just like we don't stone, we would rebuke, admonish, and then cut off. Okay, that's the ruachni of the matter. Rebuke, admonish, and cut off, but be long suffering in case a person returns at a later date. Then we got to keep the ruachni of the feast, just like Tobit did in his captivity. He didn't say, "Everybody come to my house, let's drink and party." He said, "Let me give to one who is in need. Let me show the righteousness of Yah in the arise, in the earth." Okay, that's what we ought to do. And that's what I exhort you to do in these feasts, in these appointed times. That's how you keep it. Not in partying and getting drunk, brethren. Let's continue on. And Judas and Silas, being prophets, also themselves exhorted the brethren with many words and confirmed them. And after they had tarried there a space, they were let go in peace from the brethren unto the apostles. I have pointed this out several times. They were let go in peace. It is a Hebraic thing to be dismissed from one's company. You don't just up and go. You alert them of your need of departure and you leave when it's peaceable to them. Because if they desire to have you, you're supposed to stay. We see this in several instances in scripture where it says a person pleaded with somebody to stay. Okay? Abraham pleaded with the Malachim to feed them. They didn't need to eat. They weren't hungry. He said, "Stay and let me make you something." And they they appeased him and stayed. The man with the wife that got raped and killed, and he chopped her into 12 pieces. Her daddy said, stay one more night, stay with me," and he stayed. Right? We see this in different instances where they be like, I pray thee, stay with me one more night. And people stay. They oblige the desires of the people that they visited. Now, likewise, it is also upon the people that they visited to not be grievous unto their visitor and be like, come on, man, just come on, man, come on, man, come on, man. No, you got to have a leeway and some understanding to not just keep the people indefinitely. Okay? You want one more night? You plead with them. Hopefully, they do it, and then you let them go, and you let them go peaceably. You give them your shalom when they leave. It's a big thing to give somebody shalom when they leave. I've traveled. I've been a lot of places, and I had a lot of brothers send me off with shalom. They pray with you. You know, I pray that your travels be this, and your household be this, and this be that. And they send you off with the quote unquote barakah, right? Or a not a quote unquote barakah, with a quote unquote blessing. Okay, so it is important when you visit your brethren that you be sent away with a blessing, with a quote unquote blessing from the brethren unto the apostles. Notwithstanding, it pleased Silas to abide there still. Paul also and Barnabas continued in Antioch, teaching and preaching the word of the master, and many others also, with many others also. And some days after, Paul said unto Barnabas, let us go again and visit our brethren in every city where we have preached the word of the master, and see how they do. I had a I had an imagination to do something like this, but it was in a different context. Not that we should go and speak Yahusha Hamashiach uh, technically, because the world knows of Yahusha Hamashiach if by no other name than of Jesus Christ, right? But he came to manifest his attributes of the rebuilding of the breaches and the gathering of ourselves together, and of unifying groups of people in a hob of each other, and of a hob of the Most High, uh, to establish these groups in different places, and then to go back and check on these people. Needless to say, that didn't really go as I would have liked it to go. You know what I'm saying? But to Yah is the esteem and the honor and the kabul, right? And Barnabas determined to take with them John, whose surname was Mark. But Paul thought not to take him with them, who departed from them from Pamphylia, and went not with them to the work. And the contention was so sharp between them that they departed asunder from one another. This kind of happened in the trip I was talking about. It really did. It really kind of went down like this. A misunderstanding, uh, contention, if you will, harsh words said, feelings hurt, whatnot. And so Barnabas took Mark and sailed unto Cyprus. And Paul chose Silas and departed, being recommended by the brethren unto the favor of Yah. So granted, it didn't go like how it I planned, but the work still went forth. Uh Things were still done. People still got ministered to. Yah's word still went forth abundantly. And even those whom I had contention with went on later to do likewise, right? I don't know if it was cause of what I had tried to do or what, but it was presented to them to go and do similar things that I was doing, and they went and did it in another place. So it's like, y'all spread his words out in different places at the same time, and it just worked that way. And just like Paul and Barnabas, we later came back into agreement. So it's a similar story, but not as I had imagined it going. We always don't get what we think is going to happen as opposed to what should happen. And he went through Syria and Cilicia, confirming the assemblies. Acts 16. Then came he to Derbe and Lystra, and behold, a certain disciple was there named Timotheus, the son of a certain woman, which was a Jewess, and believed, but his father was a Greek. which was well reported off by the brethren that were at Lystra. Now, remember what I said earlier about one being into your house and committed into your house, having them circumcised. And watch what happened with young Timotheus. Okay? Watch what happened with young Timotheus. If you don't know about Timothy, he he got two books, which are two letters from Paul written to him. And in those letters he calls him his son, his Ben in Amunah, right? So it's awesome. It's awesome, man. Paul is so Paul is so Torah principle, man. It's wild. And you're gonna see. Him would Paul have to go forth with him and took and circumcised him because of the Yahudim which were in those quarters, for they knew all that his father was a Greek. So Paul had to show, because for one, Paul was gonna have him ministering. Now, up until this point, we hadn't had any Gentiles. Um, well, it's not spoken of any Gentiles ministering Yah's word. We see them being converted, right, and being counted amongst the brethren, but we don't see them being in positions of authority. Timothy was in a position of authority. Paul wrote to him and told him, "Don't let these people, diminish you for your age and all this stuff." You know what I'm saying? Speak as one with authority. So we see that Timothy has had authority. So it was pertinent that he be circumcised so that he could partake in the Passover. You're not understanding, okay? Partake in the liberty that it is in Yahushua and Mashiach. How is this Gentile speaking? How is this Gentile having authority with the Yahudim? Because he didn't partook, man. He didn't partook. He didn't grieve his flesh. He didn't grieve his ruach. He didn't came into the house of one. You're not taking everybody into your house. Oh, you want to be a servant? 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 Now, ain't nobody got time for all this. It's gonna be a chosen one, one that's one that's of good esteem to you, one that's well pleasing to you. Like Hamashiach had one apostle whom he had. Everybody ain't finna get my mama now. Everybody ain't finna be my mother's son. Only one. Only Yehukanan is gonna be her son. You know what I'm talking about? It says, hey, only one of you Gentiles is gonna be my son. Now, later on, Paul did take another one whom he called his son. I forgot who it was, but he took another one. But the first one, he took him in, he circumcised that boy, and his circumcision of him was a stamping. Okay? Is that this is one of my house. This is a major Hebraic thing. This is almost the equivalent of the sheet of virginity. It is a token of proof that this is what it is. Okay? I'm Paul took that man to whoever he had to take him to. It's possible that Paul circumcised him himself in the sight of people to be about. Now, it don't say that Paul circumcised him himself. It says and took. No, it said took and circumcised him. That's hey, listen. Hey, I don't I don't know about you, but you take another man's penis and circumcise it, uh y'all close. You know what I'm saying? What he talking about? It said and knew him. Certain things you're not gonna get to know about me. You know what I'm saying? You're not gonna get to know what my penis feel like in your hand. Okay, we're not gonna be that close. But if Paul took Timothy and circumcised him, that is a stamp of man. Listen, he's with me now. He is with me now. Forget what y'all talking about. Forget all this Gentile stuff. This is my son in whom I am well pleased. This is how much I love him. I'm finna circumcise him. Hey, listen, man. Shout out to Paul. Shout out to Timotheus for taking it. 'Cause I'd have been like, hey, man, listen, I'm cool on all that. So it's putting a difference between This very circumcision, the thought of this circumcision grieved the other Gentiles. Why are they grieved? Because they don't want to do it. And chances are a lot of them didn't do it. So for Timothy to go with Paul in the ministry had to be circumcised to appease the Yahudim. Now, it might have been said that he didn't have to have it, but as a testimony to men, to please men, man, that his tube be not evil spoken of, to avoid all appearance of evil. Paul took this man and circumcised this man. Timothy went about it to do it. He was like Isaac. Hey, listen, man, hold me tight. Don't let me, Paul, you know what I'm saying? Hold me tight. Don't let me move. For those of you that know the story of Isaac in the book of Jasher, he said, man, listen, go ahead. Go ahead and sacrifice me, but hold me tight so I don't move, so I don't get out the way. But that was the testimony to his amunah, to his quote unquote faith. This is Timothy's amunah. It don't say how old he was. He wasn't a baby. And he took that circumcision, man. In our mind, we think about children, we think about anesthesia, we think about, all these kind of drugs we could use, pharmakia, these people ain't have none of that, man. You finna take that, you gonna wear it. It's not even good to drink wine when you bleeding. So they're not drinking strong drink. Talking about, I'm gonna knock the pain off. No, that's not smart. You're gonna bleed to death. You're gonna take this pain and you're gonna bear with it. For what? To preach the word. So that people will receive it. Paul is not circumcising Timothy to save him. He circumcised Timothy so that these people can't say they not receiving the word because he ain't got this. That's what people will do. No, I don't want to hear he ain't circumcised. I don't want to hear it. So Paul is saying, Timothy is saying, to alleviate that, so you ain't got no excuse against me. I'm gonna bear this burden. Not for me, not that I need it, but for you. Man, that's powerful, man. Toda y'all. That's a lot of meat on that bone. Shout out to the elder. I'm bearing this burden for you. This is did Hamashiach need to be crucified for him, or did he need to be crucified for somebody else? Okay. Did the apostles need to be crucified for them, or did they need to be crucified for somebody else that they might believe, that they might endure hardships in the future? Man, come on, man. Look at Paul. Look at Timothy. And these people, they'll come and condemn, so they doing their own thing. We just and told our y'all that it happened that we'd have to go into the Old Testament and see why the servant had to bear the circumcision. The servant bore the circumcision for their affiliation to a family, to show their submission to a family. That's why they needed the circumcision. And to show that the family that they circumcised into, that they belong to a family now. And they are above reproach. So Timothy bore his circumcision to show he was Paul. And he's above reproach as a representative of Paul, as one connected to Paul. Paul got his stripes in the Yahudi. You know me, I was with the Pharisees. You know me, I'm stamped. Okay? You know me, I did signs and wonders and miracles and all this. I'm stamped. So I'm going to take my stamp and I'm going to put it on somebody else. By what? By bringing them into my house Hebraically. Bringing them into my house Hebraically by what? By way of circumcision. And I'm not deteriorating my stamp by saying all Gentiles gotta have a circumcision. No, I'm solidifying my stamp by letting you know this stamp ain't necessary for salvation. It's not necessary for the salvation of the one circumcised. I'm circumcising them for you. I'm offering my being for you. I love this little boy. I see some in him that I love, that I care for. This is my being whom I'm well pleased. I'm circumcising him for you. And y'all talk about this, man. Hey, man, that thing awesome, man. So that, y'all. So that, y'all. I'm calming down, baby. But it's hitting me as I'm saying it. I didn't have this planned out. This is hitting me as we go. As we go along the way. What we got in the comments? Okay, for y'all, that's a hard. That's it, ain't it all? I'm telling you, man, this is live. I'm getting this live. This ain't nothing pre-planned. This off the dome right here. And it's awesome, man. Y'all is awesome. Where else can you see this? Where else can you get? Where you been to church and heard this at? You can't get it from there. So that y'all. And as they went through the cities, they delivered them the decrees for to keep that were ordained of the apostles and the elders which were at Jerusalem. And so were the assemblies established in Amunah increased number daily. Look at what y'all done. You don't see where y'all told Paul, this how you gotta do it, this how you gotta do it. No. Paul, in his understanding that y'all gave him, in his understanding of scripture of Torah, did this thing, sowed this seed. He offered up his bin. Okay? That's what he said. My son, Timotheus. That's what his son has been. He offered them up. And what did y'all do with that seed? He increased. So were the assemblies established in Amunah. What's the part of the Amunah and trust in y'all? That Paul did this thing. Because now, listen, Paul is like Jacob in the way. You done went over here, you done served Laban in bondage, you done went into captivity. And you done came out of captivity with an increase. You done came out of captivity with an increase. Now you got your being with you. You went in there by yourself. Now you're coming out with substance. You done came out of captivity with substance. So let me ask you something. If you was in captivity with zeal, ain't you gonna come out with substance with even more zeal? He done came out with even more zeal, and he increasing in number daily. Now, when they had gone through uh Phrygia and the region of Galatia, and were forbidden of the Ruach Hakodesh to preach the word in Asia. Now, sometimes you get a little above yourself when things going too for you. That's my problem. I get happy and I be wanting to do everything. Sometimes the Ruach Hakodesh said, no, no, it ain't time yet. Now, Paul did get to preach in Asia, but it said the Ruach Hakodesh at that time said, no, slow down, pump your brakes, Paul. I know you're happy, you got your bend, you got your increase, and all this. Simmer on down now. you, you, you get, you handle matters much too weighted for thee. You know what I'm talking about? Simmer down. After they were come to Messiah, they essayed to go into Bithynia, but the Ruach suffered them not. And they passing by Messiah came down to Troas. And a vision appeared to Paul in the night. There stood a man of Macedonia and prayed him, saying, come over into Macedonia and help us. And after he had seen the vision, immediately we endeavor. This is how you know that Paul ain't writing this. Okay. Many times it speaks in third person. I don't know if it's third person. It could be second person. I don't know how the persons go. All I know is it's not Paul saying it. Okay. Because it's speaking about Paul and saying we. Okay. And after he had seen he didn't say I, he said he had seen the vision, immediately we endeavored to go into Macedonia, surely gathering that the master had called for us to preach the Basora unto them. Therefore, loosing from Troas, we came with a straight course to Samothracia or Thracia, and the next day Neapolis. Do you see how, you know, they got to the business straight away? Now, apparently, it's some things that are known of a certainty, and it's some things that take more prayer and fasting for a clarification. It don't speak as if he needed any kind of clarification about that dream. When he got that dream, he got right to it. It didn't say after some time. No, it said immediately. They got right to the business. And from this to Philippi, this is where you get the letter to the Philippians from, brethren. That's why it's important to go through and read Acts. A lot of you read little quotables from books and stuff. You be like, oh, yeah, I want to use that. But do you know the context of that? Do you know why he's writing to these people? Okay. Philippi is in the context of after he didn't got Timotheus, after he'd been increased in y'all, he'd been confirmed, he did all this stuff in other places. He didn't came through Philippi, okay, which is a chief city of the part of Macedonia. Do you know about the Macedonians, brethren? Okay, Macedonia is the home of Alexander. Okay, his name was Alexander the Macedonian. That means it was a Grecian city. Do you know that they Grecians from the letter of the Philippians? Do you get that automatically? So what kind of problems and issues would the Philippians have? Would believers in Philippi have? Oh, maybe that it's a Grecian city. Maybe that it's people there that may be Yahudim. Because at one time the Yahudim was under the bondage, under the captivity of the Grecians. They were carried away. All of them weren't carried away. Some of them served the Grecians. Some of them was the rich people in Greece. Because you always had sellouts. You always had people that served their enemies, right? Gave into the gods of their enemies and got rich. And maybe they weren't saved, but maybe their children got saved later. This is how you get people like who Paul is dealing with, who are fluent. This is how a Timotheus can come about. He got a Hebrew mama and he got a Greek daddy. This is how these things happen because the people uh, have made lives in the places of their captivity. This is why these people could have a inkling of going to a synagogue. Why these people could be at a synagogue, but yet they strangers, yet they Gentiles, but they at the synagogue. How? Because they ain't been brought up in the way. They know enough to know that I'm related to these people to know I should go. That's why it's the same way you got people that go to church, but they worldly as hell. They somewhere hearing the Bible, but they ain't living it. This is how you got strangers, how you got Gentiles at synagogues that don't know Yahushua Mashiach. They're still living Grecian lives, who are still Hellenized, but they at the synagogue. That's how we got Hellenized niggas in the synagogues today. It's the same thing. It's a lot of meat on that bone. But anyway, he's from Philippi, which is the chief city of that part of Macedonia, and a colony. And we were in that city abiding certain days. And on the Sabbath, you see, they still keeping Shabbat in foreign land. You know what they said? Well, if we can't keep the feast in foreign lands, we can't keep Shabbats in foreign lands. You know what we got right here? We got evidence that they kept Shabbats in foreign lands. You know what we don't got? That they got evidence that they kept feast days, at least how we keep feast days in foreign lands. They could acknowledge them. They could do something pertaining to the feast, like invite a homeless brethren into their house to feed them. But we don't see them having parties, feasting, and getting drunk and musty. We don't see that. Okay. And on the Sabbath, we went out of the city by a riverside where prayer was wont to be made, and we sat down. So we know it's all kind of in the land. We know it's all kind of offerings and sacrifices that are done on the Shabbat. Does it say that they did all that? No, it don't say that they did all that. But what did they do? They ministered the things of Yah where it was needed. Like Yahusha said, is it lawful to do two on the Shabbat? Is it lawful to do good on the Sabbath, even if it might involve something that you couldn't do ordinarily? You can't do your own labor. You can't. It said you can't even lift so many pounds of water on the feast day. I mean, on the Shabbat day. But you could go and help your neighbor's ass or ox. You can help lift it out the ditch on the Sabbath day. Do you see the difference? One is you are putting aside your differences with your enemy to aid and assist him to manifest the righteousness of Yah in the earth. That is to do tube on the feast day. Usually, you might say, you know what, I'm going to gather amongst my people and I'm going to read the scripture. How about they went and gave prayer to a woman that was a Gentile? They said, listen, we went out of the city by the riverside where prayer was wont to be made. That means something was going on that people needed prayer. These ain't people that necessarily know about scripture. These ain't people that's necessarily living a Kodash life, a set apart lifestyle. It said prayer was wont. Okay? That means it's necessary. Necessary. Very much needed. It said, and we sat down. We got to the business. Sat down and spake unto the women. Why is it a bunch of women in this place? See, it ain't about, you know what people are saying? Man, you can't be talking to other people's wives, man. You can't be doing all this. It don't say these women was married or not. They might not have been, but they married. They may very well may have been. The thing ain't about being in some kind of close proximity. The thing ain't about being, in any kind of evil way. Whatever the kind of situation was going on, all that other stuff go out the window because we need to help and aid these women. And they did it. And it was for a reason. Because we'll find out that one of these women came to be very instrumental later on. It says, and a certain woman named Lydia, a seller of purple of the city of Thyatira, which worshiped Yah, heard us. You see, you never know what kind of tool or good is going to come from you just following the quote unquote spirit or the Ruach and just doing something. They didn't gather amongst their usual believers. Wherever they at, there is a synagogue wherever they are, usually. And it's a group of believers wherever they are, usually. They at some river with a group of women that apparently need ministering to. And they then came and got about the business. And they finding a woman who hear them. They don't know nothing about this woman. But this woman been being worked with by Yah. So you never know who's y'all working on and who he's bringing you together at a certain time at a certain place for a certain thing. Maybe the day before it wouldn't have worked. Maybe the day after it wouldn't work. It needed to happen right then how it happened. This woman just so happened to be by this river and just so happened to be looking for a word from y'all. And just so happened men with the word then came. Okay? whose heart the master opened, that she attended unto the things which were spoken of Paul. And when she was baptized, listen, she looking for it. She want to be baptized. She want to go deeper in y'all. That's what she pray. Y'all help, y'all increase me. Y'all do this, y'all do that. And y'all like, okay. At the appointed time, at the appointed season, it's going down for you. You're gonna be at a certain place at a certain time when certain men, the men didn't come for her. It was something else going on that they was attending to. It said these women needed to be prayed for. No, it said prayer was wont to be needed. Just so happened when they was doing that, Lydia heard. This thing deep, man. It show you y'all is very intentional. He's very calculated. You don't want to play with somebody like that. Because just like he planned for her salvation, he can plan for your destruction. Put you in a certain place at a certain time to get you up out of here. That's very, very dangerous and something that needs to be considered at all times. So that, yeah. When she was baptized and her household, she besought us, saying, if ye have judged me to be trustworthy to the master, come into my house and abide there. And she constrained us. Now it don't say that she has a husband. And I would venture to say that she does not, right? Because he would have to be, Hebraically, her husband would have to be at play in this. Okay, men don't just be coming into random women houses inviting themselves, even if she invites them without the barakah of the husband. So from what's written, I would say what I'm saying. It's possible that the husband is in agreement with her. That's the only other way this could have been done if she is married. If she is married, he'd have to been right there in full agreement with her to have them. If that's not the case, she is most likely widowed because she has a house. This house is including of possible children, possible servants, and the like, right? Because her house was baptized. That didn't mean they took water and threw it on her dwelling place. No, they took water and baptized the members of her household. And it came to pass as we went to prayer, a certain damsel. You see how Yah is has just lined it up for Ruachni things to take place, and they just going with it. You know what I'm saying? They ain't looking for nothing and they ain't ducking nothing. Or I put it like this: they looking for anything and ain't ducking nothing that they find. Okay? They just going about willing. They willing vessels and they ain't ducking nothing. They didn't come across them women and said, no, I can't be praying with these women. Because look at what's happening. They did converted the household of a righteous woman. And now they coming across a woman possessed. And let's see what happened with her. A certain damsel possessed. Now it says damsel. This is implying that she is a younger woman. Okay, this ain't no old lady. This ain't no old lady. This is a young thing. Okay, probably pretty young thing. Okay, possessed with a spirit of divination, met us, which brought her masters gain by soothsaying. The same followed Paul and us, and cried, saying, these men are the servants of the Most High Power, which show unto us the way of salvation. And this did she many days. So, this is another thing, too, that I want to point out. Hamashiach said, warned us against vain repetition, even though it might be a tube repetition. Okay? I I know quite a few brothers and sisters, that like to repeat stuff over and over again. They might say Abba Yah, they might say, Father, just over and over and over and over again in their prayers. And you say, it's a tube thing that they're saying. This is a tube thing this is a good thing that she's saying. These men are servants of the Most High Power, which show us unto the way of salvation. This is a fact. But there's a problem. You know what the problem is? She's saying it too much. She's saying it many days. Okay. You're doing too much. So much to the point it's grieving the ones that she talking about and talking to. It's grieving them. Why you got when you praying to the Father? Why you got to say Father 137 times? Abba Yah. Why you got to say it 137 times? Abba Yah don't know who you talking to. The people that you praying with don't know that you praying to Abba Yah. I'm just saying, let's just be mindful that that repetition, vain repetition, meaning pointless, pointless. It's pointless because we know what you're talking about. You didn't say it what you said. It's good that you said it once, okay? Maybe even two, you said it a couple of times. But when you get into just going above and beyond, you become grievous. And that's what we need to understand. Now, that's neither here nor there. I just wanted to point that out because it bothers me when people do that in prayer. And I have wondered if I was wrong. But it's verses like this that make me think I'm right. That you can say the right thing too many times and it becomes grievous. It don't grieve me the first 3 or 4 times you say it. But when you get to 5, 6, 7, 8, and 20, hey, listen, I can't take it no more. So it says, and she did, and did she many days. But Paul, being grieved, turned and said to the spirit, to the Ruach, I command thee in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach to come out of her. This is another thing, too. A spirit worthy of being cast out allowed her to say a two thing. So we might say a person, oh, they in the spirit. Listen to them. Look how they talk. Oh yeah, you in the spirit, all right. That don't mean you in a tube spirit. You could be in a tube of Rasha, right? A evil, ruach of Rasha. So let's just be mindful that it could. I'm saying could, because I don't want to be condemning people and all this old stuff. But let's just be mindful because this woman wasn't saying, you know, about something being pink and something being brown. No, she said these men are servants of the Most High Power and showing us the way to salvation. And she was rebuked as being possessed with a spirit, and the spirit was cast out of her, and it came out the same hour. So let's just be mindful of that. And when her master saw that the hope of their gains was gone, they caught Paul and Silas and drew them into the marketplace unto the rulers and brought them unto the magistrates, saying, these men, being Yahudim, do exceedingly trouble our city. Do you see how righteous rebuke that is going to affect the benefit of those in power is going to bring about persecution? Do I need to say that again? Righteous rebuke that is going to afflict those in power is going affect that is going to affect those in power. It's going to bring about persecution to those that did the rebuke. I'm gonna tell you something. Talking about these feast days, it's gonna hurt a lot of people's pockets. It's gonna hurt a lot of people standing with the assembly because it's gonna be like, hold on, this person said we shouldn't do this, but my teacher said we ought to do it, and we commanded to do it. So people don't like that. So instead of owning to that fact, instead of researching and studying, even coming to the point of of reaching out to a person and having a conversation with a person to to see if a thing be true, to see why a person said what they said, they'll rather condemn. They'd rather stir up strife against the person, to try to talk about their character, to try to do all this and that. And I've had this happen to me. You know, this is what is happening to the disciples. That what they've done is to a negative effect to those that's in power. And these people are causing trouble. These men being Jews, they weren't strangers, they weren't Gentiles, knowledgeable Yahudi. No, hold on. They're talking about Paul and them when it said Jews. Now, these men are rulers. Hold on. Her masters. Her masters, these men. It don't say who her masters is, don't say who she is. But we know they are in Thyatira. So it's not saying she's a Jew, it's not saying that they are a Jew. But irregardless, if they Jews or not, they still in power, they still have influence. They don't like what Paul and them did, and it's bringing about persecution. It's saying they teach customs which are not lawful for us to receive, neither to observe, being Romans. That's what they say about us. We teaching customs, we teaching contrary things to the law. That's what they say. You know, we teaching y'all not to keep the commandments of y'all by telling you you shouldn't be keeping the feast. Not even explaining the fact we teaching not to keep them how you doing it. We never said don't gather on the feast. We never said that you shouldn't uh observe the feast in any sort of way. What we said is how we are doing it, right? And claiming that we keeping the feast. We got to modify our speech. We can say we are remembering the feast, okay? We can say we are observing the feast, but even that's kind of shifty. But to say you are keeping it is where we find fault and where we find that one is putting themselves in the position of being a liar. Because the majority of the people, that's what they say. They might not mean it in that fashion. I give you that. You might not, because upon further inspection, you'll say, we know we can't keep it like we do in the land. We know we can't. But you said we keep it. You talk with the big boldness and we gonna keep the feast. We gonna keep the feast of Yah. That's our problem. Is that when you talk like that, you're talking like you paid the cost to be the boss and you ain't. Okay, you gotta get yourself together. But anyway, and the multitude rose up together against them, and the magistrates rent off their clothes and commanded to beat them. And when they had laid many stripes upon them, they cast them into prison, charging the jailer to keep them safely. This is the thing too, right? Paul and them is going to claim that their treatment has been unjustified because they are quote unquote freed men. And that's what people like me and my brother gonna claim to y'all as well, is that y'all rebuking of us is the rebuking of those that aren't free, those that ain't been freed by the testimony of Yahushua HaMashiach, those that ain't converted, those that ain't been reborn. You beating us like we don't know this stuff. You beating us like we ain't studied, like we ain't read. Oh, we studied, we read, and we are undeserving of these types of things that you. We deserving of an open of an open debate. That's what we deserving of. We deserving of a phone call and of reasoning. We deserving of different methods than you treat a stranger. Then you treat a sojourner like somebody who did like a Gentile trying to lead a synagogue. This ain't how you treat us. We worthy of different methods. Okay? Not to say a Roman couldn't be handled, but you don't handle them how you handling it. It's different things you got to do. Okay? Me and my brethren, we different. We ain't just talking to be talking. We ain't strangers. We done been circumcised into the house of y'all. And we coming in and we talking like this for a reason. Okay? We believe ourselves to be sons Elohim. What are you doing beating on us like we strangers? When these people found out there would be no Romans, they got scared. Are you scared for beating on us like that? So they laid many stripes upon them and cast them into prison, charging the jailer to keep them safely, who having received such a charge, thrust them into the inner prison and made their feet fast in the stocks. And at midnight, Paul and Silas prayed and sang praises unto Yah. And the prisoners heard them. And suddenly there was a great earthquake, so that the foundations of the prison were shaken. And immediately all the doors were opened, and everyone's hands were loosed. And the keeper of the prison, awakening out of his sleep and seeing the prison doors open, he drew out his sword and would have killed himself, supposing that the prisoners had been fled. But Paul cried with a loud voice, saying, Do thyself no harm, for we are all here. Then he called for a light and sprang in and came trembling and fell down before Paul and Silas and brought them out and said, Sirs, what must I do to be saved? And they said, Believe on the Master Yahushua Mashiach, thou shalt be saved in thy house. It said, keep the feast of tabernacles and put on some fringes and call yourself uh Shalom Kaf and no, believe on the Master Yahushua Mashiach, thou shalt be saved. Not that you can't necessarily do them things. Ain't nothing wrong with it. Do it. But that's not the answer to your question. That's what we got to understand. Can you party and get drunk? Sure. But the question for what must I do to be saved, that ain't the answer. That ain't it. That ain't the answer to your question. What must I do to be saved? Wear fringes? No. That ain't the answer to your question, brother. No. Call myself by another name? Not spiritually. Okay. I mean, no, not carnally. Okay. People can call you Junebug. That don't mean you ain't saved. Okay. But if Junebug live as Yasharal, as he live upright, see, that's what you got to understand. People taking on these names, they got to take on these characteristics. Okay, that's what you got. That's how you call yourself by another name. My people that are called by my name, what are they called for? Are they called to be called Israelites, or are they called to be upright? Okay, are they called to sing and praise with words? Or they called to sing and praise by their actions, to be Yahuda, to be Yahudim, to be those that bring forth praise. Are they gonna bring forth praise just by their words or by their heart? See, this is what you gotta understand today. That's the answer to your question, not of the letter, but of the ruach. See, you're going off the letter because people can see the letter, and that's what makes sense the most. Paul didn't get Timothy circumcised for him to be saved spiritually. It was for you to see it in the letter. Because you need the letter. Y'all need the ruach. You need the letter. Y'all need the ruach. You need your name to be such and such. To be called, say, oh, I ain't got no slave name. You need that. Y'all need you to live the characteristics of the name you're getting. Dude, you know, hey, man, listen, man. Throw that, yeah, there's a lot of meat on that bone. And we've been talking about this stuff for a while. You know, true enough, Yah is constantly revealing, constantly bringing about revelations. But in so many ways, man, we've been hitting you with the same thing. You know, because Yah don't change. He's the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. You know what I'm talking about? He been giving us this stuff to tell to you, and we've been telling it. And I hope you've been picking it up, acting like a sponge and soaking it all up. Verse 32 uh, of chapter, I think we're on chapter 16. And they spake unto him, chapter 16 of Acts, 16 verse 32 of Acts. And they spake unto him the word of the master and all that were in his house. And he took them the same hour of the night and washed their stripes and was baptized. Do you see how he ministered to them? Right? You gotta serve those that serve in you. He ain't just said, man, I appreciate y'all for preaching to me, man. I'll catch y'all tomorrow. Now, that ain't what he said. He said, you've done me a kindness. Okay? You done comforted me in my misery. Because y'all supposed to be locked up. And y'all ain't locked up no more. These people gonna probably kill me. But you done gave me some peace. You gave me some peace of mind. Okay, I appreciate you. And because you done gave me peace of mind, I'm gonna give you some peace of mind in your flesh. Okay, you didn't please my ruach. I'm gonna please your flesh, because these people didn't beat the brakes off you. You know what I'm talking about? They didn't cut you to the white meat, okay, with these stripes. They didn't beat you to the white meat, and I'm gonna let you wash that. You know what I'm saying? It says, and he took them the same hour of the night and washed their stripes. He washed them. It said, and let them wash. No, he did it. He washed their stripes. Because you ain't gonna believe it. You're not gonna believe it. By their stripes, by their stripes, he was healed. Not only him, but all that was in his house. You know, see, you don't understand how the things of Yah manifests and goes and goes and goes. Okay? Yahushua got stripes. By his stripes, the apostles was healed. And they were strengthened to go and healed others. And by them healing others, they got stripes. By them going about the process to heal others, they got stripes. And by their stripes, other people was healed. It's this continuation thing. It's sowing and reaping and sowing. Because you ain't going to believe it. When one flower grows, it produces seed to grow other plants. That's a sign of living seed. You know the problem with plants today? They're not living seed. They man-made. That's how you know the difference between man-made seed and Yah-made seed. Man-made seed ain't going nowhere. Yah-made seed is gonna produce on top of produce. It's gonna increase and increase from generation to generation. Told y'all for the manifestation of this thing. So now we understand why he's talking about flowers. Why he's talking about agriculture. So we can understand it and see it. And we got this day GMO seeds. There ain't no life in them. Even some of them they man-made, and some of them do produce. In case some of you would be confused and say, "Well, what about this group over here? They got they multiplying." Okay, there is a upon a close examination. You know what I'm talking about? But upon a close examination, you could decipher, because you could tell a GMO plant from a real plant. I'm gonna try to tell you something. If you ever been on a farm that got GMO corn and to a farm that got real corn, you gonna know them GMO corn. That GMO corn, all of it look the same. I don't know if y'all know this. They got cloned meat. They've been having cloned meat. I was locked up with a guy that worked in a pig farm that had cloned pigs. He said, you know what's crazy about them pigs? He said all of them look exactly the same. And that's the problem with man-made stuff. They make it's stiff. It's stiff. It's it's a carbon copy. But when it's Yah made, that thing get to do its own thing, its own way. But it's all gonna resemble the same thing that made it. See, it's gonna resemble it. It's gonna be its own thing, but it's gonna resemble the one it originated from at the same time. See, the 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 man made ain't gonna be nothing different about it. Ain't gonna be nothing of its own. It's gonna all be carbon copy, cardboard. You're gonna be able to see the the man madeness of it. But when you deal with something that's of Yah, the power comes in the connecting the thing. Just like you read in the Old Testament one thing, you read in the New Testament something totally different circumstances, but it's the same power. It's the same, it's the same ruach. It's like it's different, but it's the same. It's hard to put into words because it's a ruachni thing. It's hard to put into words, but you get what I'm saying. That's how you could tell a thing of Yah versus a thing of man. It's gonna be hard to it's gonna be hard to fully explain, but in certain ways you can grasp it. That's what I'm trying to say. I kind of got off there, but you know, there's a lot of meat on that bone. Eat it slowly. Okay, 33. And he took them the same hour of the night and washed their stripes and was baptized. He and all his house, he and all his, straightway. And when he had brought them into his house, he set meat before them and rejoiced, believing in Yah with his house. Do you see how the salvation of the righteous comes with a great uh, abundance or substance? How he adds to them substance for their troubles. Paul went to all these places, getting lied on, talked about, chased out, ran out, all this. He didn't found the sun in his place. He'd been given substance. These people that went and got beat to the white meat. Now this man then healed their wounds and then gave them nourishment. 9 times out of 10, this man probably can cook. You know how, you know, you got uncles and stuff who be cooking and they can throw down on their grill. They got wives, you got the fire, macaroni and cheese, all this other stuff. I bet you this man has set these folks some of the best food they done had in a while. And you know they've been in prison, so they ain't ate. They probably thirsty. They done went from being waiting on death to then save the man and his whole family to eating good and rejoicing. That's how y'all move. You see the increase. You see the. I'm just saying, man. Told out y'all. It's all awesome. And when it was day, the magistrates sent the sergeants. That's crazy. The sergeant saying, "Hold on, 1 second. My camera is a little crazy here." Sent the sergeants. Told out y'all. All praise to the Most High. Uh, the sergeant saying, "Let those men go." And the keeper of the prison told this, saying to Paul, "The magistrates have sent to let you go. Now therefore depart and go in peace." But Paul said unto them, "They have beaten us openly." Hey, listen, man, these people, they want to quietly rebuke us, or they want to do it in their own little thing. And I hope some of them people is watching this. I didn't really put no names on this stuff. I don't want to really cause contention. Cause I'm speaking to the spirit of this thing. But I'm speaking this, hoping that those among them, because a lot of they people used to watch my videos. I hope they still watch. Let this be a testimony, put a difference between me and them. You know them people ain't called me, man. You know them people ain't invited me to have no conversation, yet they called me brother. Yet they received me and my family unto them. Yet they sent us off with barricades. They didn't call me to talk about none of this stuff. They didn't call me to sit amongst you and explain what I said. They didn't do that. Now, shout out to the brothers who invited me on their platform. They did give me an opportunity. They did. But in the midst of my speech, they cut my mic and threw me off the same podcast. So, that happened. But they want to do this thing quiet. No, we ain't gonna do it quiet. We ain't gonna do it quiet. Openly. Okay. But Paul said unto them, they have beaten us openly, condemned, being Romans. They beat us like we don't know nothing about this. They beat us like we just Johnny come lately. No, no, if you've been listening, I've been hitting you with this whole thing, showing you concept upon concept, precept upon precept, and you ought to be able to see it. And if you don't see it, uh, 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 you ain't meant to see it. So I am. And have cast us into prison. And now, do they thrust us out privily, quietly? Nay. Nay. No, we're not doing that. Let them come out. Let us, let them come themselves and fetch us out. Okay? I'm ready. Whenever you're ready to invite me on, I'm ready. You know. Now, if it be peaceable with you, you didn't repented of the things you didn't done, things you didn't say, and it's all good between us, then told I yeah, right? So be it. But if you still think, you still call me wicked, you still say I'm they say you still say I'm teaching against the commandments of y'all, then bring me forth. Let's pull this thing out. Don't just be talking about it. Call me. I'm game. I bet you I won't say no. Okay. And the sergeant told these words unto the magistrates, and they fear. Hey, don't be scared now. Well, what is it? Don't be scared now. Ask me questions, because I ain't said what I said lightly. I bet you I got some proof for you. I bet you I got some. I bet you I got some act right for you. See, I can face your question. Can you face mine? That's the thing. That's why you don't want to have a debate, because you can get to say whatever you want to say. You don't get no get back. I'm ready for all your get back. I'm ready for all of it. Are you ready for mine? Is the question. Told I yeah. And they fear when they heard that they were Roman. Yeah, they hearing now. See, these people more justified than you. They more justified than you. They didn't know Paul and them was Romans. We Romans. You know what I'm talking about? We got it on our person. We Romans. Because until we said something contrary to your belief, you was all with us. You was all with us. You've been with us on the group calls. You've been, amen, brother, amen. You've been agreeing with everything we were talking about. When we was with what you was with, we could do no wrong in your eyes. Soon as we came into a new revelation, new understanding, now you got problems. Now you want to beat us and act like we ain't Romans. You know we Romans. You're scared. You was up there trying to save face with your followers. Now, y'all judge. You know what I'm talking about? And they came and besought them and brought them out and desired them to depart out of the city. And they went out of the prison and entered into the house of Lydia. Lydia, ain't this the same woman that they just randomly met? Randomly met with Lydia. See, you never know what you're gonna get if you trust in y'all. They trusted in y'all and went to this river on the Shabbat day and to help out these group of women. Amongst the group of women was Lydia that they ministered to and baptized her and the whole house. And now they came out of prison. You know who waiting on them to help them out? Lydia. You know what I'm saying? Told I y'all. Okay. Some of the people in my times of trial, the ones that helped me out? The ones I met along the way, the ones I met when I was trusting in Yah. You know what I'm saying? Not people I've been knowing, not the people I would suspect to help me, but the ones that I met along the way. I put out a post a couple days ago, man. I was in a bad way financially. I was grieved about some things I needed. So I put a call out. Now, I've been talking about a group of brothers that did me a disservice. You know what I'm talking about? These brothers got a assembly. When I was in my bad way and I put the call out, one of the biggest donations came from somebody in their group. You know what I'm talking about? Told I, these group of brothers, man, they talked about me bad. They talked about me bad. They basically told me I was hell bound, son of Hasatan, all that old stuff, right? As a summary from all of the stuff they said, that's basically what they said. But one of their brethren that saw the light above what they was talking about, because the confrontation I had with other members It was a video. So you could go in and see the video, and you could try the fruit. You could see how I handled them, how I talked to them, and what I said and what I didn't say. And you could judge for yourself the truth. That's why I say, man, these things that be did, they ain't hid. They ain't hid under a rock. You know what I'm talking about? We ain't hiding none of this. All this stuff is above board. One of their members was one of my biggest contributors in my time of need. Just like Lydia was one of the biggest contributors to Paul and Silas in their time of need. They didn't look for this woman. She appeared ready as a testimony to the work they had been doing. One of their brethren appeared as a testimony to the work that I had been doing amongst him. So told I y'all, you know what I'm saying? And when they had seen the brethren, they comforted them and departed. Acts 17, man. I don't know. We're going to get to this 18, man. It is rough. It is rough out here. We had 2 hours. I ain't even got 3 hours worth of storage left on this thing. And I'm going to call it short, man, because ain't no point in keeping doing this stuff if y'all ain't going to watch it. It ain't no point. It ain't no point. So we going to call it right there. we going to call it at 17. Um, It's just too much meat on the bone, man. It's too much meat, too much stuff to be saying, too much stuff to do. I've been going for 2 hours and 28 minutes. I need two more chapters. It's gonna be another 2 hours. Let me know. Are y'all gonna stick with me? I got two people on here. Let me know if you want to keep going to chapter 17 and 18, and we'll keep going. If you want to cut it short, cut it short. But I'm gonna tell you something. If you say keep going, you bound to stay with me now. If you gonna keep going, you bound to stay with me. If you ain't gonna stay, just let me rock. Just let me call it. What you gonna do? Barbecue or meal do? What we talking about? Oh yeah, and for those of you who are wondering, we have not had the baby yet. Okay, the baby is not yet uh breached the matrix. Okay, we are expecting it any day, any moment, any moment. Okay, but it's not yet. It's not yet here though. Okay, I didn't get a response on that, so we gonna cut this thing. We gonna cut it because we 2 hours in, and we know that the brethren is short winded and whatnot. So go ahead and get on up out of here, man. All praises to the Most High, y'all. This has been an awesome. It's been an awesome lesson. It's been a lot of meat uh given to us. There's been a lot of things that I was able to put that y'all allowed me to put into context and to bring before you, and I hope it gives you understanding. My aunt said keep the party going. He said keep the party going. All right. All right. You know what I just said? I just read the thing about you got to be sent off in Shalom. My brother don't want to send me off in Shalom. He want me to abide with him longer. So I'm gonna abide with him longer. Right? Told I yeah. So let's get right on into Acts chapter 17. We're gonna keep the party going. All right. Let's see. Keep the party going. Acts chapter 17. Now, when they had passed through Amphipolis and Apollonia, they came to Thessalonica, where was a synagogue of the Yahudim. Hold on. My Amma is hitting me up. She said, keep us posted, please. How's she doing? Great. Okay. Amphipolis and Apollonia, they came to Thessalonica. This is where you get the letters to the Thessalonians, brethren. See, a lot of people don't know how this stuff happened. You just think, Paul was out just street preaching, and these people learn something. No, it said, where was the synagogue of the Jews? Why the church don't tell us all this stuff happened at synagogues, man? They think Paul just talking to random people that just was walking downtown at the marketplace and he said, repent. No, he and all of the other apostles are going to synagogue. You know what a synagogue is? A place of Jewish worship. Why do you think people are going to places of Jewish worship? I'm just saying, man. The context is key. Today says, and Paul, as his manner was, went in unto them 3 Sabbath days, reasoned with them out of the scriptures, opening and alleging that Hamashiach must needs have suffered. See, it's so much context in this we got to understand. So please explain to me how Christianity wants to teach you Hamashiach with with New Testament only. How could you fully get him if they say the old don't matter? When these people schooled in the old were taught him out of the old. That's why it's very important. That whole thing I gave you about Paul and Timothy and the circumcision of Timothy, if I didn't have some type of understanding about the Old Testament circumcision of of servants concerning the Passover, I never couldn't have gotten that. Combine that with the stamping of Hamashiach by the Ruach HaKodesh, him being y'all's servant, how y'all said, this is my servant, of him I'm well pleased. This is my stamp of approval of him. How could I tie in what Paul did? I'm just saying, this is the most high y'all in it all. But it takes a servant being knowledgeable of certain things to be able to do certain things. Paul had to be knowledgeable of the Old Testament to reason with them out of the scriptures about Paul. Paul is a Roman, man. These people that beat me like I ain't a Roman. They can't beat me like I'm a Roman. They gotta give an account, man. You know what I'm talking about? They gotta give an account for their actions. So they up. May they repent and be rejoined. Cause hey, listen, I don't hate you. Come on home. You know what I'm talking about? I stretch out my hands all the day long to a rebellious assembly. Come on back home. Said Paul, as his manner was, went unto them 3 Sabbath days, reasoned with them out of the scripture, opening in the legend that Amashiach must needs have suffered and risen again from the dead, and that Yahushua, whom I preach unto you, is Hamashiach. Do you see there's a difference? You see why he said he is Hamashiach? They knew there was an anointed savior coming to save the people. They just thought it was going to come in a different circumstance. They are looking for the restoration of the throne of Daoud in the Arise. See, that's what they're looking for. That's why this whole thing about David is important. Because David was the time in which Yasharal was unified and Yasharal had dominion over every other nation, at least as far as they weren't subject to any other nation. They might not have physically ruled over any other nation, but any other nation who was sovereign didn't try them. You know what I'm saying? It's like America is sovereign, China is sovereign. China ain't saying we gonna go to war with America because they know America got them nukes over there. Okay, well nobody trying David. So these people who are subject to taxes, they want to know when we gonna be sovereign again. When we gonna be free? Okay, that's what they looking for. When the true Mashiach is coming to free them from sin, okay, not from bondage, not from financial bondage to your, but In reality, the knowledge of him is going to free you financially because it's going to give you the ruach of sovereignty of don't bring yourself into bondage in these people in any way. Free yourself from the traps that the heathen would set. You know, the lawgiver is to the sinner. You ain't got to worry about the police if you got your affairs in order. You ain't got to worry about the court system if you got your affairs in order. And if you should come into contention with them, you're gonna be redeemed. See, that's what the people is missing. They think because you're not in Jerusalem with your temple, with the priest, with the king on the throne, you ain't free. No. By much affliction and persecution shall you be saved. Okay? Your own affliction and persecution of what? Of battling your flesh. Because that's what we come to understand that we being held back by our own accord. The heathen ain't really my problem. My problem is that I was speeding. Okay? My problem was that I committed that crime out of some kind of issue within myself. I should have refrained from this. I should have refrained from that. That's what Hamashiach has come to show us, to shine a light upon us. That our bondage, Yah created us free. Yah created us whole, like He did Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve sought bondage by listening to the voice of another. They gave themselves over into captivity when they listened to another voice. That's what Hamashiach came to show us. That we gave ourselves over to captivity when we listened to another. Man, that thing is heavy. That thing is heavy there. So they the scriptures plainly spoke of one that's gonna come to save the people. They just didn't know exactly who it was in the context in which he did it. So imagine them knowing this Yahusha is dead. They killed him. So in their mind, that when Paul is like, no, that was him. That was him. Let me show you how it was him. Let me show you how he saved you. Let me show you how. And he did it out of the old. Very important, very key. And some of them believed and consorted with Paul and Silas, and of the devout Greeks, a great multitude, of the chief women, not a few. But the Yahudim, which believe not. See, this is the thing. A lot of people, they know the scriptures. That don't mean they believe. They know certain things. That don't mean that they believe. Because they still cleaving on to the old way. These these are people that are Yahudim. These are people brought up in Torah, right? But it's a certain part of the scriptures they rebelling against, and they believe in not. Okay, they with you to a certain point. I feel you, but and oftentimes it's it's about the liberty of Hamashiach that they rebelling against. That's what these people. Well, what you mean? We don't gotta keep the feast days. This says it right here. You mean just like it said about getting circumcised, where it says it right there? Because you're missing the pertinence of it. By all means, circumcise yourself. But don't circumcise your penis, circumcise your heart. By all means, keep the feast day. Not by gathering and getting drunk, but by manifesting the characteristics. See, they don't forget about the fact that we said that. We said that part plainly. They don't want to talk about that. They said don't keep the feast. Now you're lying on me. Now you're bearing false witness. They don't want to talk about that. Now you're beating us like we ain't Romans. Oh, we Romans. We freed men. No, hey, don't do us like that. But the Yahudim which believe not moved with envy. How you talking like that? Why is don't let us get to talk about Sabbath not being Saturday. They don't want to. Ooh, no, don't do that. Don't do that one. Took unto took unto them certain lewd fellows. Them the only kind of people they gonna get to agree with the folly. Lewd ones. We need to look up lewd. Let's look up the definition of lewd real quick. Throw that out. Let's keep the party going. What's lewd? What's lewd here? Let's look up lewd real quick. Hold on. Hold on. I'm missing something. Present. We're gonna look up the definition for lewd, brethren. Lewd definition: crude and offensive in a sexual way. Oh wow. Similar, vulgar, smutty, dirty, filthy, obscene, pornographic, coarse, tasteless, indecorous, indecolate. No, indelicate. I say indecolate. That's crazy. Indelicate, off color, unseemly, indecent, salacious, gross, disgusting, sordid, low, foul, vile, rude, racy, risque, naughty, wicked, arousing, earthy. So as we see, these ain't the kind of people you want to be dealing with, but these the kind of people that you got to go and get to follow with your lives. Okay, when you talk about getting some people to agree to some mess, to some folly, you go and get the lube. Okay, that's what they go and get to join them and talking about us to beat us like we ain't freed men. They go and get lewd fellas of the baser sort and gather the company and set all the city in an uproar. All the members of the assembly they raised up against their own brethren and assaulted the house of Jason and sought to bring them out to the people. These people want blood. They want blood. They don't want righteousness to go forth. They want unrighteous vindication. Okay? And when they found them not, they drew Jason and certain brethren. This is why the Romans did it to. That's why the Romans came and got them. Okay? All these people that wanted the blood of the apostles was the same ones that got caught up in the massacre of Jerusalem. Okay? They wanted blood, and they got it. Okay? They own the blood of their own head. Now, I would not that these brethren who done, said all these things about me, I would not that they be destroyed. I would that they be converted and have an understanding and be joined back to me in a Bible. Because for all sense of sorts, I don't have a problem with these brothers. I got a problem that they got a problem with me and that they, didn't reach to reason with me as a brethren. But to beat me like I was a stranger, to verbally beat me like I was a stranger, that's what I got issue with, you know. And that's what they need. You know, they got to pay for that, But after they, get whatever it is they're supposed to get behind that, I pray that they are nourished and their wounds are healed. You know what I'm talking about? Throw they out. And when they found them not, they drew Jason and certain brethren unto the rulers of the city, crying, "These that have turned the world upside down are come hither also, whom Jason or uh Yathan, really, that's what it would be. Yathan had received. And these all do contrary to the decrees of Caesar. Because in reality, they saying I'm doing contrary to the decrees of the Ashkenazi. Okay, that's really what they're saying because that's where they get a lot of their doctrines from. Okay, they get it from the Ashkenazis. The Ashkenazis keep the feast. We are the Ashkenazis keep Saturday. We ought to keep it too. The decrees of Caesar. You know what I'm talking about? Ain't not talking about the Rockney way. The things of Yah is Rockney. You got to take the things that Yah said and see it in Rockney and in truth. I'm talking about the decrees of Caesar. Saying that there is another king, one Yahushua. See, we talking about how Yahushua fulfilled these things and how, you know, whatever kind of punishment would come from not quote unquote keeping them how you say, okay, don't apply to us, right? Because in believing in Yahusha, you go manifest what the feast means. If you truly believe, you gonna keep the Passover without ever having a party. You go, you gonna keep the first fruits without ever, you know, going into the field and cutting down corn stalks. You gonna give people you gonna give y'all the first fruits anyway. You gonna do these things anyway. They're gonna be your nature to do these things. People don't understand it, and I'm gonna try to stop talking on everything, but I can't. I can't. I mean, it's hard. And they troubled the people and the rulers of the city when they heard these things, and when they had taken security of Yathan and of the other, they let them go. And the brethren immediately sent away Paul and Silas by night unto Berea. That's where you get the Bereans from. Well, where do the Bereans? Paul and Cyrus got sent there unto Berea. So these people ain't going places chilling. They going places putting in work. Everywhere they go, they putting in work. Because everywhere they go, there's a synagogue. Paul and Cyrus by night to Berea, who coming thither, went into the synagogue. So every place there's a letter. Every place you hear about believers, it is connected to a synagogue of Yahudim. Why the church ain't told us this? Why these white people using Paul's writings to show them? It's like, bro, it's still to the Yahudim first. Whenever you get done, you may very well have been there, but if you in there, you only invite. First of all, these people is very highbrow. Okay, the Yahudim religiously, although they are accepting of other people and all this, when it comes to their stuff, you gotta meet certain conditions and requirements to come into their stuff religiously. Okay, you see how now they want to? Oh, you ain't this, you ain't that, you that ain't changed. They still do that to this day. Okay, so you think it's other nations in these synagogues and they not following in line? They not then came up under somebody? They ain't subjected themselves to the Yahudim? You think these people willy nilly up in the synagogues? Is you crazy? What Negro you know that got some kind of position of authority is letting it go willy nilly? You know how these don't know how to act when they get some power? So you think they just let white people or whoever of these other nations in the synagogue and they ain't submitted themselves? The question ain't who didn't submitted themselves. That's already a foregone conclusion with quote unquote Jewish culture, with the culture of the Yahudim. That's already understood. If you want to worship y'all, you submitting to somebody. We just went over that in Exodus 12. Uh, what was that, babe? Exodus, it was 12 about the Passover. Yeah, we just went over that in Exodus 12. Is that if you gonna keep the Passover, it got to be one bought with money who's in your own house. That's one who is a part of your family. That's just what the Passover. You ain't got nothing to do with none of this if you ain't then seen something of a Yahudim and is wanting the Yahudim to minister to you of the Elohim. Like this is the basis of worship when dealing with the Yahudim. It got to come through them. So where do you white people come from with their own thing, doing their own thing, however they want to do it? Did Lydia say, you know what, I'm gonna have my own church. I'm gonna just do my own thing. Or did she take her and everything she got and submit them to Paul and Silas and say, you teach us and tell us how this thing goes? Every person they baptized, they submitted themselves and said, you've been given the authority to teach us. So teach us. Where are you white people come from with their own thing? Man, somebody help me. I don't understand it. But anyway, these were more noble than those of Thessalonica in that they received the word with all readiness of mind and searched the scriptures daily whether those things were so. Therefore, many of them believed also of honorable women, which were Greeks, and of women, not of a few. So we also see, as much as Paul said he don't allow women to speak, we see that Paul is dealing with women in a certain order, in a certain circumstance. He's baptizing women. He just saved the woman and her whole household. He didn't say, like a lot of these camps do, you know, they quickly trying to marry the women, they trying to make them concubines and all this other stuff. It ain't got nothing to do with that. It's 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 ministering the things of Yah, giving the understanding of Yah and of Hamashiach to those that don't have it. Okay, first and foremost. Okay, therefore many of them believed also of honorable women. This is first to the Yahudim. You got to think they are starting this in the synagogue of the Yahudim. Okay, I don't know why it has to say the synagogue of the Yahudim as if it's another type. There is no other type of synagogue. A synagogue is a place of Jewish worship. Okay, there's the only person gonna be in there. Okay, well, the only ones leading that. Okay, but when the Yahudim of Thessalonica had knowledge that the word of Yah was preached to Paul at Berea, they came thither also and stirred up the people. So you got haters that don't want to let a thing sit. Okay. Paul had previously been to Thessalonica. We just talked about that. Okay. Um, that was that where he met Lydia at and the women and all that? Uh, so he's continuing on meeting other women. Cause this ain't never changed that women is more ready to hear than men are. That's why you see a large dealing of women wanting to hear and wanting to hear the things of Yah. The whole thing about wailing women, women being spiritual, women being easily influenced as well. That's a big part of it. And it's also Yasharal's problem. That's why he said we his wife. The problem is we've been easily influenced by the wrong stuff. Okay? We've been uh, blindly catering to and going after the wrong ones. We supposed to been he don't even want us to blindly go after him. That's why he always gives us proof of a thing. And he said, look, consider, look at this, look at that, look at this, look at this, look at that. He's not even having us to blindly do that. But we blindly going off and trusting in these other powers, in the feminine characteristics, right? We gathering in the spiritual places, but it's often under bad doctrine, bad leaders, bad leadership, false gods, false deities, false everything in that feminine nature. Okay? The masculine nature requires proof, requires sound doctrine, not willy nilly, sound, something tangible, something that makes sense. Okay? Be like Thomas. We want to feel your hands. That's what a man do. That's why men aren't tricked as easily as women are, because men require more proof, more tangible, logical proof. That's why you're not gonna see an abundance of men in certain places that aren't right, because in their scrutiny of a thing that requiring of tangible proof, a lot of people ain't gonna be able to provide it, so they're not gonna draw them. Okay, that's why you're gonna see a lot of women in places where a lot of tangible proof ain't given, but a lot of rhetoric is. A lot of rhetoric, a lot of talk, a lot of show, flamboyance. You're gonna see a bunch of women up in there. Okay, you gonna see women all the time. Okay, whether it's true or not. Actually, to be honest with you, in places where it's a lot of conviction, you don't see a lot of women there. At least you don't see women there that have no accountability. Okay, women that don't have accountability lack people. I mean, hate people that bring accountability. Okay, men usually like accountability and hate rhetoric. Right? They like tangible things and not ruachni things. That's also where the the masculine has an issue because when it comes to ruachni matters, they had a conflict. That's why y'all likes a balance of the feminine and the masculine, because it's like, hey, your masculine characteristics are too that you like proof, that you like tangible things, but it's gonna come into conflict when you can't readily see a thing. That's gonna be your problem. That's why Abraham is important because he was promised something that he couldn't readily see. He had to trust. He had to have emunah. A lot of manly men gonna have problems with trust because they skeptical, and it's in them to be skeptical. See, y'all cause us to test us in a way, and told I y'all for this that I continued on in this so I could see this, but it's also gonna make this video longer. But anyway, uh, the scrutiny of a man when it comes to Yah, he's gonna have to rely on a portion of feminine. And when it comes to a woman in her feminine, she's gonna have to rely on a portion of masculineness when it comes to scrutiny. Because you can't just accept everything willy-nilly, baby. You're gonna have to learn some scrutiny. And man, you can't scrutinize everything. You have to learn to accept some things and trust some things that you might not can see. You're gonna have balanced scales, and y'all don't like it when you don't have it. Because if you don't got balanced scales, you're not gonna be able to truly know him, truly understand him. And you're gonna put yourself in a position to be uh led into a ditch. You know what I'm talking about? You gotta have eyes that see and ears that hear. That's why you need both of them. Men wanna see and they scrutinize the things that they hear. Women love what they hear and scrutinize the things that they see. You need both of them. We just talked about this on the video about being blind and being deaf. Told her, y'all, you see how it all come back together. See, we ain't just we Romans, man. We Roman, we freed men. They can't tell us that we ain't free because we can't do nothing but show it to y'all the time. And then immediately the brethren sent away Paul to go as it well. See, when I say Romans, for those of you that's joining in later, whatever, I want you to understand we talking about in the context that Paul and Silas was beaten, and it's a law that you're not supposed to beat Roman citizens. Not that Roman citizens can't be in prison and can't be brought to justice, but it's a certain ways you got to go about it. We contexted that. I contexted that with how it was brothers in the walk that had afflicted me and spoken against me and other brothers against my other brother because we brought out doctrines that was contrary to what is widely accepted in Yasharal. We spoke against some things that a lot of people enjoy doing and do. Okay. And they spiritually beat us. Okay. They beat us. They treated us like we was peasants. Okay. But there is a certain authority that come with being a Roman. A Roman is a quote unquote free man. To be a Jew at that time was considered to be a slave. You didn't have the same rights that a Roman had. That's why when they told them they was Romans, they got scared. You being on the free man. It's consequences to that. We related being a free man being one that is giving themselves to the Most High Yah and who the Most High Yah has revealed himself to through his word and through his scriptures, meaning you have understanding. He's not dealing with those who don't have understanding. So we just letting the people know that we, Romans or freed men. For those of you that got a problem with being called a Roman, Roman. I'm a Yehudi. I'm a Jew. We get it. Okay. You is, but you ain't. How about that? And that they conducted, and they that conducted Paul brought him unto Athens and received a commandment unto Silas and Timotheus for to come to him with all speed. They departed. Now, while Paul waited for them at Athens, his ruach was stirred in him, and he saw the city wholly given to idolatry. Therefore disputed he in the synagogue. You see how it's always connected. These people not in these cities for no reason. You know what they say? Hey, it's a synagogue over there. I'm gonna go over there. Yeah, I heard it's a synagogue way up there. I'm gonna go way up there. They not going places ain't no synagogues at. Therefore disputed he in the synagogue of the Yahudim and with devout persons and in the market daily with them that met with him, that certain philosophers of the Epicureans and of the Stoics encountered him. And some said that what will this babbler say? That's what they want to know. You know, they see me and my brother going live or whatever. They don't want to join. They don't necessarily want to know something. They're gonna mock it. They're gonna ridicule it. You know what they say in their heart? What these babblers gonna say? Other some, he seemeth to be a setter forth of strange gods, because he preached unto them Yahusha, the resurrection. They talking about lunar, lunar Shabbat and not keeping feast days. Wow, looking at it. And they took him and brought him unto Areopagus, saying, may we know what this new doctrine whereof they speak it. These people are more righteous than these people we talking about. At least these people got enough mind to put them to a debate and say, you know what, we want to know what you saying, and we want to question you and know why you said what you said. How are these people more righteous than some of these so-called Jews of today? How that is? Imagine that. For thou bringest certain strange things to our ears. We would know therefore what these things mean. We want to know why you say what you say. How are these people more righteous than these so-called awakened black Hebrew Israelites today? That's crazy. For all the Athenians and strangers which were there spent their time in nothing else but either to tell or to hear some new thing. Then Paul stood in the midst of Mars Hill and said, ye men of Athens, I perceive that in all things ye are too superstitious. Hey, you know what I'm talking about? That's what I got for you. You're too superstitious. You know what I'm saying? You're too willy-nilly with it. For as I passed by, I beheld your devotions. You got devotions. You got a spiritual side to you. I found an altar with this inscription, Barakatah, to the unknown power. See, that's your problem. He unknown to you. You need to make him known. Whom therefore ye ignorantly. That's a problem when you're ignorant. You don't understand what he's talking about. You don't understand his feast day ain't just a party that you get drunk at. It's characteristics that you need to embody within yourself. And the crazy part is, in it, one of you did a whole lesson about the characteristics of the feast days. You did a whole lesson on it. Crazy. Him declare I unto you. The most high that made the power that made the world and all things therein, seeing that he is master of Shemaim and Arats, dwelleth not in temples made with hands, neither is worshipped with men's hands as though he needed anything, seeing he giveth to all life and breath and all things. I mean, he don't need you to make him nothing. He don't need you having a party. He needs you manifesting him in the earth. Because he has made a decree that the Ruach, that spirits, can't do anything of themselves in the earth. That the spirit got to be manifested in the flesh. Okay? It got to be manifested in the flesh. What kind of flesh? Willing flesh. So he don't make you do it. You got to want to do it. That's why them evil ruachs, them evil spirits, they don't do nothing to them. Say they ain't got no powers over you. You put yourself in a position either by knowingly or like desiring to have them rule over you, or by uh 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 disobedience to the righteous ruach. When you disobey the righteous ruach, you're susceptible to the wicked ruach. So if you're not doing a righteous thing, then you put yourself to be taken over by a wicked thing. And this is an ordinance. Witchcraft, as me and my brother told the elder one day, we don't believe all this stuff about these people casting spells, these people doing all this. We don't believe we subject to that if we live for y'all. We don't believe these people got no authority over us. As we see with Joseph, the woman put a hex on some food she brought to Joseph. Joseph knew she had a hex on it and ate it to show her she ain't have no power over him. Okay? That's that's the authority of Yah. And those that he stamped got dominion over all things. What he said that you wrestle with vipers and not be bitten, that you drink poison and not die. Told I am. Neither is worship with men's hands as though he needed anything. Seeing he giveth to all life and breath and all things, and have made of one blood all nations of men for to dwell on all the face of the earth, and have dwelled the time. You know, all men are his. That's something they understand. When y'all is talking about he has not so dealt with any other nation, it's not the fact that he said, "Oh, I want to, I just want to deal with Jews, or I just want to deal with Abraham's kids." No, it ain't just about him dealing with Abraham's kids, because Abraham had kids that ain't the Yahudim. Abraham had kids that's not Israelites. Okay. Also, there are people that y'all helped that was not of Abraham's seed. You know why he helped them? Either for one, because they was going to serve his purpose. They was going to carry out in the flesh what he would that he in the ruach is ordaining, or because they took on his characteristics. Okay, because they was upright. We see this with Zepho. Zepho and Jasher prayed to Yah, and it says Yah heard him and helped him. If you don't know who Zepho is, Zepho was a Edomite. Okay, I think he was uh Esau's like great grandson or something like that. He was he's an Edomite, and it says he prayed to Yah, and it says Yah heard his prayer, and he helped him out. But it was because Zepho was upright for a time. He did, I think he did uh end up slipping up down the line. But it's the fact of Yah is with those who are of him. And if you are displaying any kind of righteousness, the righteousness of Yah, then that means you are of him. And if you are not displaying it, that means you are not of him. This is why he will say, "Depart from me, you wicked servant. I never knew you." That means you're not of me. You're not living, you're not manifesting me. So I don't know you. It said real recognize real. That means I'm not recognizing you because you ain't real. You fake. I don't know you. Okay? I don't know how we got to this. Oh yeah, about how y'all made one blood of all the nations of men. The specialness ain't that you call an Israelite. The specialness is that you are one who is upright, who is Yashar, right? That's the key. This is how a person get misled and get to having pride in nationhood instead of pride in Yah. Paul said, "I boast in Yah. I don't boast in me. Because me personally, I ain't nothing. Why am I anything? Because I desire to manifest the characteristics of Yah. And why do I even know anything about the characteristics of Yah? Because he has revealed to me and told Yah that he saw fit to reveal to me a thing He circumcised me like Paul circumcised Peter. I mean, like Paul circumcised Timothy. And when he circumcised it, you ain't gonna believe it. Now I get to bring you in. Now I get to put you forth as my son, because I didn't stamp you as mine. Guess what happened if I stamped you as mine and you go off and you bring a reproach to my name? Now I got to get rid of y'all. Oh, ouch. That's why I said curse is those that know of y'all and turn from y'all. Ooh, ouch. Okay? And have determined the times before appointed and the bounds of their habitation, that they should seek the master, if haply they might feel after him and find him, though he be not far from every one of us. For in him we live and move and have our being. As certain also of our own poets have said, for we are also his offspring. For as much then as we are the offspring of Yah, we ought not to think that the I don't know what to call that in the Abri Godhead. For we are what they call it, triune power. I don't know. I'm just gonna read it how it goes. That the Godhead is like unto gold or silver or stone graven by art and men's device. We ought not to think that the Godhead is like unto gold, silver, stone. You ought not to think that the righteousness of Yah is in having a party. And you ought not to think that, brethren. And you ought not to think that the righteousness of Yah is going to come from you having a party. It's not going to come from that. It's not going to come from that. You know how Tobit displayed the righteousness of Yah? Because he went and got a man that was destitute and homeless and invited him in to a bath and a meal. So you know what that man gonna say when he taking that bath, when he eating that food? You know what he gonna say? He gonna say, Toda Yah. Okay? That's how the righteousness of Yah is manifested in their lives. Not by you having a party and singing songs and getting drunk. Not even if you don't drink, but just having this party in general. That's for you. What are you doing for somebody else? Now go out and invite every homeless person on the street and tell them come and drink and eat with you, and then minister to them the things of Yah. Then hey, listen, I'm gonna shut my mouth. I'm talking about I ain't gonna say not a word. I'm gonna say Toda Yah. I'm gonna say when you do it again, so I can plan myself to be there with you. But we ain't talking about that though. We ain't talking about that. You ain't doing none of that. But you want to condemn me because I said don't do what you doing. Come on, man. And the time of this ignorance, y'all winked at. It used to be okay to do that. Okay, you knew in the walk you want to do. Okay, cool. But now he to put it upon men's hearts and revealed unto men these things to come and tell you about it. Come and tell you, hey man, listen, man, that ain't it. Hey man, Saturday, listen, that ain't it. Okay, feast days, hey, listen, man, how you doing it? How you doing it? That ain't it. Coming to tell you about it. Even foods and stuff we eat. Man, listen, man. People been talking about this yard bird for so long, man. I don't want to hear it. Nah, they boo boo. I can't hear you. You know what I'm talking about? That's like I've been. I don't want to hear it. But after so long, hey, listen, man. You gotta come on over, man. I gotta give up that yard bird, man. I gotta give up that yard bird, man. You know, cause times of ignorance, y'all winked at. It can only be pressed on you so much. So you gotta say, hey, man, listen, hey, that's it. That's it right there. Come on up off that thing. But now commandeth all men everywhere to repent. Okay? Because he hath appointed a day in which he will judge the world in righteousness by that man whom he hath ordained. You know who that man? That man. That man, mama. Okay? Yahusha. The one that you mocked, the one that you ridiculed, the one that you said, you know, uh 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 position healed ourselves. And you ain't gonna believe what's gonna happen When you get into the Mount Cook, or when you get into the Lake of Fire, all y'all that's been talking about Shaul, you ain't gonna believe who you gonna look up and see on the throne. You gonna see who you gonna look up and see sitting on the throne. You gonna see Shaul sitting on the throne. Yeah, Shaul, that, that, that false apostle, what they called him, that him. You ask him, put some water on my tongue. Nah, he ain't gonna be able to do it. He ain't gonna be able to help you, Ralph. Okay? Because there's a point of the day in which he will judge the world in righteousness by that man whom he hath ordained. These apostles whom he ordained. You ain't gonna believe where they got to go to get understanding that. They got to go to them same apostles. Thrones, 24 elders. You ain't gonna believe who's sitting on it. They gonna have to come to the same ones they ordained. These nations that didn't afflicted us. You ain't gonna believe where they gonna have to go in that day. You ain't gonna, whereof he had given assurance unto all men, in that he hath raised him from the dead. What are we the valley of what? What are we the valley of? What are we in? The valley of what? What kind of bones we got? They dry bones. What? What did he do? Raise us? Did he say all the sinews gonna come together? Oh, okay. I'm just trying to figure it out. And when they heard of the resurrection of the dead, some mocked. Hey, that's what they said. They gonna think it's funny. That's what they gonna say. They think it's funny. And some others said, we will hear thee again of this matter. This is how the assemblies got started. Okay? This is how the assemblies got started. Because the multitude, the majority mocked, but that remnant said, we will hear thee again of this matter. These are the people that started the assemblies outside of the synagogue. See, all y'all people in these groups, you think you in the assembly. I'm gonna tell you something. You in the synagogue. You in a place of Jewish worship. But I'm gonna tell you something. You gonna have to come out of the place of Jewish worship, and you gonna have to come to the unto the gathering together of those that truly believe on Yahushua HaMashiach, not in Jewish heritage. Oh, that thing right there. You gonna have to come out of the synagogue and be amongst the true believers in Yahushua HaMashiach, man. I'm gonna tell you something. I'm gonna tell you something. You gotta be the one that want to hear thee of this matter. Some of them people in them assemblies heard them folks talking about me. Only one of them hit my inbox. Shout out to my op. I'm gonna mention him by name. I hope they don't cast him out of the assembly for this. But shout out to our Cortez, man. Cortez said, "Man, what's going on below?" He talk like this. He from Memphis. Man, what's going on below? What's going on? And we talked about it. You know, shout out to the people that want to know what's going on, man. That's basically what they said to Paul there. They said, "Man, what's going on, man? Explain to us more." So Paul departed from among them. Howbeit certain men clave unto him and believe. Did everybody cleave on? Did everybody that heard the words of truth, did everybody listen? You think that it's the words of truth that's going to save men? No, it's not the words of truth that's going to save men. It's the desire to be saved that's going to save men. It don't matter what a man says. If you don't want to be saved, if you don't want to hear it, it ain't going to do you no good. You know how much truth I done spoke to people that didn't want to hear it? You know, I ain't going to do it. Howbeit certain men clave unto him and believe, among which was Dionysius the Arab Areopagite, Aropagite, 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 Areopagite. I don't know how you say it. One of them. And a woman named Damaris and others with them. All right, the last chapter, Acts 18. Somebody hit that like button and they let them use you, Aki. Thought I am. Thought I am. Uh, pardon me, y'all. They want to hit me with this thing. And if any of y'all would like to know how to operate your stream yard like this, hit me up. You know what I'm saying? I didn't learn it to hide it. I learned it so these types of things can go forth. Let's do it. The book of Acts, chapter 18, the final chapter in which we're going to read for this podcast today. After these things, Paul departed from Athens and came to Corinth and found a certain Yahudi named Aquila, born in Pontus. I don't think the church ever pointed this whole thing out about Aquila and Priscilla. They always, they always try to leave it like open, like it's all some kind of just converting random white people and all this sort of stuff. No, that's not it. And found a certain Yehudi named Aquila, born of Pontus. You heard of Pontus Pilate? His real name was Pilate, but he was Pilate from Pontus. Okay. Lately come from Italy with his wife Priscilla, because that Claudius had commanded all Yahudim to depart from Rome and come unto them. You see, um, Josephus talks about how a lot of the Yahudim in Rome stopped keeping Roman customs, and how it was Roman, uh, Roman, Roman Caesars that made decrees that said you got to go back at this time. You got to go observe your customs at this time if you weren't doing it. And if you wanted to do it and it was other people trying to stop you from doing it, he made decrees that nobody could stop you. If you have a job, you say, hey, I got to take off because I got to go back to Jerusalem for the feast like I'm supposed to, they couldn't stop you from doing it. Okay? That's what you need to understand. Another thing that Christianity never taught us was that every ruler wasn't against us. We see this in the Old Testament. How even in our captivities, certain leaders was to our advantage. Go back and read Josephus, man. Go back and look at um antiquities of the Jews and look in the later chapters. Okay, the later chapters deal with the Romans. Okay, it's gonna start off with Old Testament and bring you all the way up from Old Testament to all the kings and the Syrians and the Babylonians, all the way up to the Greeks and all the way up to the Romans. So shout out to Josephus for doing that, because without him doing that, a lot of context would be missing from Scripture. Okay, and because he was of the same craft, he abode with them and wrought. For of their occupation they were tent makers, and he reasoned in the synagogue every Sabbath and persuaded the Yahudim and the Greeks. And when Silas and Timotheus were come from Macedonia, Paul was pressed in the Ruach and testified to the Yahudim that Yahusha was Hamashiach. So it's times where Paul ain't even moved to even talk to these people. Okay? All this stuff that these camps be talking about, randomly street preaching, randomly doing stuff. This stuff is not scriptural at all. Well, I won't say at all. There is a certain thing about the crying out and pleading with your people. There is something to that. But how they are doing it, If they was going to these assemblies and reasoning in these, I mean, churches, quote unquote, going to these churches every Sunday, okay, and reasoning with them and preaching Yahusha in his fullness, because the whole world know about Jesus Christ. They don't know about him in his fullness. They don't know about the intimate things of Yahusha HaMashiach, his context from Old Testament to New. They don't know that. And I dare say a lot of these camps don't know it. You know what I'm saying? But shout out to them who do. Okay, shout out to you. May you increase abundantly. You know. But that's more contextual if they did that. If they went to these churches, to these mega churches where Yahudim worship, okay, to the place where Yahudim or Yasharal worship, albeit they worship wrongly, okay, if they go there and they minister Yahusha out of the scriptures, okay, that's what they ought to do. That's what they ought to do, okay. All right, let's continuing on. And when they opposed themselves and blasphemed, he shook his raiment and said unto them, your blood be upon your own heads. So we see how truth, the truth of Yah is being ministered by a representative of Yah and it's still not being heard. So all this thing about having this big old following and having all these people, it's not realistic, man. So you can't trust in people because they have a big following, and you can't discredit people because they don't have one. Okay? That's what we need to understand. And myself included, you can't discredit yourself because you don't have a following in which you think you ought to have. You never know who's following you. You know, you might be saving a handful of people's lives, but you looking for thousands of followers. But the few people who are following you, you might be saving their life. You know, you might be saving them from hellfire. So, yeah. Told I to my Isha talking about that's what she be trying to tell me all the time. Your blood be upon your own heads. I am clean. From henceforth I will go unto the Gentiles. And he departed thence and entered unto a certain man's house named Justice, one that worshiped Yah, whose house joined hard to the synagogue. See, that's another thing. It's this whole thing. None of these people are just random heathens. These are people that got some knowledge of Yah, and Yah say, you know what? Because you've been trustworthy thus far, I'm gonna send you somebody that's got more understanding that's gonna take you to another level. I'm gonna let you sit with that for a little while. Verse 8. And Crispus, the chief ruler of the synagogue, believed on the master with all his house. And many of the Corinthians hearing and believed and were baptized. This is how you get letters to the Corinthians, brethren. Okay? I'm gonna tell you something. A lot of my videos, the majority of my videos, is really to these type of people. It's for the people at the synagogue. It's not really to random strangers that don't really know nothing. But even if you don't know something, if you got enough zeal to be searching, it's enough in it for you to get. You know what I'm saying? This really ain't kindergarten, okay? But the ABCs and 1, 2, 3s is definitely in there. Okay, it's in there for you. But that's not exactly the whole of the class. You know what I'm saying? I got one of them kind of things. Back in the day, you had one classroom with about 5 different grade levels in there. You know what I'm saying? That's what this is. So that yeah. Then spake the master to Paul in the night by a vision. Be not afraid, but speak, and hold not thy peace. For I am with thee, and no man shall set on thee to hurt thee, for I have much people in this city. You know what that tells me? It was a great reason for Paul to be worried. That means it was going down in Corinth. It was so bad in Corinth that y'all had to send a vision to Paul to secure him and let him know, don't be afraid. I got you. That's how bad it was. That also show you how bad the Yahudim was that y'all had to tell Jeremiah, I got you. Jeremiah said, I can't go talk to these people. No, Ezekiel. Ezekiel said, it said, I have given you a forehead of brass that you can go talk to these people. That that's how hard it is to deal with y'all. That we gotta have divine intervention to bear dealing with you, to minister to you, try to help you. Y'all gotta be involved. Cause just us doing it on our own, it ain't gonna work. And he continued there a year and 6 months, teaching the word of Yah among them. And when Gallio was in the deputy of Achaia, and the Yahudim made insurrection with one accord against Paul and brought him to the jail. This is how bad it is. And this also another reason y'all had to tell them, because not only do it look bad at the onset, it's gonna look bad while you're doing it. That's another message in this thing, is that the zeal will get you in, but the amunah is what's gonna keep you in. You know what I'm saying? The zeal will make you hop off the porch. Oh man, yeah, I'm in there. Yeah, we Yahudim. We got fringes and feast days. Well, when you get in that thing, man, that thing get hard, man. When you get tried, when you get into tribulation, when you get cast into prison, not only physical prison, spiritual bondage, spiritual affliction. That's when Amunah got to save you. That's when trust in Yah got to save you. Shoot, zeal ain't gonna do nothing but get you in trouble. Zeal is what made them dudes go and try to cast out them demons. It said, by the God of Paul, we cast you out. It's a Paul I know, Yahusha I know. I don't know you. That was zeal. Got them boys in trouble. You know what I'm talking about? That amunah is what's gonna sustain you. And you gotta have amunah, you gotta have a foundation to have amunah in. That's why if you don't understand Yahusha in the Old Testament, I don't believe, I could be wrong, right? I always like to leave room for kosher jello and whatnot. But I don't believe you could truly know Yahusha if you don't understand him in the old. Now, whatever kind of advantages you might get, because I know there's some Christians out there, they're gonna say, well, look at this in my life, look at this in my life, and it's been on Jesus. That's how it's on Jesus. I'm gonna tell you something. A lot of y'all surviving off the ruach of a thing. Because I'm gonna tell you something. The letter condemning you. You surviving off the ruach. You say, well, I've been calling on Jesus. It ain't been the name you've been calling on of what you say out of your mouth. You've been saying Jesus, but you've been calling on the office of the one sent to free you from bondage and captivity. You don't understand it. See, that's what's been saving you. Because you believe there is one that's been sent to save you from the bondage of sin, and you calling on that. That's what y'all's winking at. You like, yeah, cool. Okay, I like that. Because there's people that know the name that ain't calling on that. We see how we got the imbalance of the feminine and the ruach. You see how we got those that are critical and those that are willy nilly. I mean, it's many forms of it. Spirit and truth. It's the same thing. It's the same. What's that smell? Something burning. Is it finished? It smells like it's about ready. And when Gallio was deputy of Achaia, the Yahudim made insurrection with one accord against Paul and brought him to the judgment seat, saying, "This fellow persuadeth men to worship Yah contrary to the law." That's what they saying to us, man. Because we telling you to worship Yah, but we telling you them feast days, partying and getting drunk like that, doing it like that. He telling you, man, listen, that thing don't profit. And they said, we teaching you contrary to the law. That's what they said. And Paul was now about to open his mouth. Gallio said unto the Yahudim, if it were a matter of wrong or wicked lewdness, O ye Yahudim, reason that I should bear with you. But if it be a question of words and names and of your law, look ye to it. For will be no judge of such matter. See, I'm not the judge of you talking about Jesus. I'm not the judge of you. I'm not the judge of you in general, right? But I would reason with you about certain things and doing and certain things you got to refrain from because I can't make you do nothing. Paul ain't gonna make these people stop circumcising themselves. He just tell them you shouldn't do that. You know what I'm saying? You could do it. Like I crucified. I mean, not crucified. I circumcised Timothy, and in the same tongue, turn around and tell you you ain't got to be circumcised. Because I circumcised him, I bruised him and afflicted him. It pleased me to bruise him for your sake. Okay? That's the only reason I'm endeavoring with this stuff. It pleased me to bruise Timothy for your sake. So all of these things, look ye to it. You want to keep having feast? Go ahead. Look ye to it. But far be it from me not to say something about something. And he drave them from the judgment seat. When all the Greeks took Sosthenes, the chief ruler of the synagogue, and beat him before the judgment seat. And Gallio cared for none of those things. And Paul, after this, tarried there yet a good while, and then took his leave of the brethren and sailed it into Syria, and with him Priscilla and Aquila, having shorn his head in Centria, for he had about. I did another lesson about these same chapters, and I didn't get none of this stuff out of it. That's what's crazy. Did these did a same video. Go back and look for scripture study, Acts 17 and 18. None of this stuff about Timothy and the circumcision came up. None of it. But here it is today. Today. And he came to Ephesus. That's where you get the letter to the Ephesians from. Came to Ephesus and left them there. But he himself entered into the synagogue. Everywhere he wrote a letter to, it started from a synagogue, brethren. Ephesus, home of the Ephesians. Hey, my stomach is tight, like something is wrong. So, and reason with the Yahudim. Then when they desired him to tarry longer, came with them, he consented not. Sometimes, listen, we spoke earlier about tarrying with with your brethren when they ask you. Uh, see, now look, I said it's best to agree with them. Now, far be it from y'all to have a thing open ended. He brings order to a thing. There is a time that you can say no. Why did Paul say no? He didn't. He didn't came to this place. He didn't minister to these people. These people say, you know what? Stay with me. I want you to stay with me. Stay a little longer. 9 times out of 10, Paul would have said yes. Why did he say no? Let's read. He said, he consented not. Why? 21. But bade them farewell, saying, I must by all means keep this feast where that cometh in Jerusalem. Told I y'all for what he done. I didn't put this whole thing with these feast days. I've been talking about these feast days the whole time. Feast days about to come up. This is the season of the feast days. They coming. Well, told I y'all. Why he say, you know what? We gonna have the feast here. Why they ain't having the feast where they at? Why he said, nah, I got to go. I got to go to Jerusalem. Why he ain't say, hey, all of y'all got to come go with me to Jerusalem. They wasn't born under the law. They not required. They was born outside of the law. They Jews, but they Gentiles at the same time. You ain't gonna believe what you is. You a Jew, but you are a Gentile at the same time. You were raised under the law. You coming into a knowledge of y'all. You know what you got to do? You got to refrain from fornication. You got to refrain from things strangled and things sacrificed to unclean. And things sacrificed to idols. That's what you got to do to be saved. Believe on Yahushua Mashiach. That's what you got to do to be saved. He ain't calling on you to go to Jerusalem. Now that might be a little bit too weighty for y'all, but it's okay. Somebody said Todayah, and that's who I said it for. He said, but I will return again unto you if y'all will. He ain't say, you know what, come to me with Jerusalem. We can talk about it on the way. No, you ain't gotta go. But say, oh, he was talking to the Greeks. No, brethren. He was talking to Jews. But Jews in another land. Hey, listen. It's too weighty for you. It's too weighty. I know. I know how you got Jews that ain't bound to come. That don't mean they can't come. He ain't making them go. If it's in your heart to go, go. You think I'm gonna tell you you can't go with me? He ain't telling you can't go. He said, I'm going. Listen, I don't know where you going. I'm going to Jerusalem to keep this feast. You ain't got to go. I'm not making you go. You know what they should have said? Hey man, we going with you. Well, we ain't gonna have our own party here. We ain't gonna keep the feast here. We gonna go with you to Jerusalem where we supposed to go. You don't see that though, do you? See, that's why they don't want to. That's why they want to put me away privilege. They want to put me away privilege. They don't want to. They don't want to have open debate. They don't want to talk about it openly. They ain't got no answer for this. And when they had landed at Caesarea and gone up and saluted the assembly, he went down to Antioch. And after he had spent some time there, departed and went over all the country of Galatia, Phrygia, in order, strengthening all of the disciples. And a certain Yehudi named Apollos, Why you got a Yehudi named Apollo? Why is why his name ain't Abba Abba Yah or something, or something with an A in it? Olive. That's a Yehudi name. Because he was born under Grecian rule. He's a Gentile, but he's a Jew at the same time. Hebrewanity is what these people involved in. Christianity with a Hebrew twist. A certain Yehudi named Apollos, born at Alexandria, an eloquent man and mighty in the scriptures, came to Ephesus. You see how he's a Yahudi. He knows scriptures, but he's still Alexandrian. This man was instructed in the way of the master, and being fervent in the Ruach, spake and taught diligently the things of Yah, knowing only the baptism of Yahukanan. So we see where Yahusha is pertinent. If you don't understand the rebirth, if you don't understand the the freedom from sin, the dominion given to the Son over the Shemaim and the Arah, if you don't understand the culmination of these things, then you aren't complete. This man, by all intents and purposes, know he's a Yahudi. This man know of Yah. He's fervent in Yah. That means he's diligent in Yah. He diligently seeks. That's what the fervency is. Okay? Fervent in Ruach. So he's reached a certain level. He's not complete. You're dealing with people because they got a certain level, because they got a certain break. It don't mean they complete. Paul, that was caught up to the third Shemaim, told you in this letter he wasn't complete. He said he was racing unto completion. He was moving towards it. That means everything he had done, he had already been to all these places. He had already cast out demons, already healed the sick, already survived a stoning, already survived a number of things, and done a number of things for y'all. He still wasn't complete yet. So why are you looking at these niggas like they complete? Here is a man instructed in the way of Yah, considered fervent in the ruach of Yah, knowing and teaching and moving diligently in Yah. He still ain't complete. And he began to speak boldly in the synagogue. Listen, he speak boldly. You know that he speak as one with authority. Whom when Aquila and Priscilla had heard, you know what they say? He missing something. He doing a lot of talking. He ain't talking about Yahushua Mashiach. He's not tying Yahushua Mashiach in the words that he say. That's the only way they could know. That's the only way they could understand that something is missing from this brother. I say he got everything but Yahushua Mashiach. It's some people out here that got everything but Yahushua Mashiach. Anybody tying you to the law about all this whole stuff, they tying you. They ain't got Yahushua Mashiach. They got Jesus Christ, and that's their problem. You know what I'm saying? Because to the awakened Yahudim, Jesus Christ is void of the law. He's void of the ruachni of the law, and the idol Jesus Christ is full of imbalance on both sides. On one hand, it's willy nilly, feminine, and on the other hand, it's much too much too about the letter, much too about uh uh um what is the word I used earlier about the masking attribute of like nitpicking stuff. Uh much too I talked about Thomas and how Thomas doubting. He was doubting. He needed confirmation. Uh intri- I want to say intricate so bad. It's in something. Much too I don't know. But I lost where I was at. And he began to speak boldly in the synagogue, whom when Aquila and Priscilla had heard, they took him unto them and expounded unto him the way of Yah more perfectly. And when he was disposed to pass into Achaia, the brethren wrote, exhorting the disciples to receive him. Now, I'm gonna show you how he couldn't have known of Yahushua HaMashiach if all he had was uh John's preaching. John preached repentance. Repentance of going contrary to a lot of y'all's ways and his instructions. Okay. Yahusha was what was to come after that repentance. After you have realized the errors of your ways, now what? Okay. It's one thing to stop doing a thing, it's another thing to become or to transform into something else, to transform into this new creature, to transform into this new wineskin. Being repentant from something does not fully embody that. So Yahusha was to be the the answer to Yehukанan's ministry of repentance. So he is the perfection of Yah's thing. He is the completion, right? Or he is the he is the completion of that phase, right? And when that woman pushing a double stroller up the hill, B, she's a big girl too. Shout out to her. And when he was disposed to pass from Achaia, the brethren wrote, exhorting the disciples to receive him, who, when he was come, helped them much which had believed through uh, favor. For he mightily convinced the Yahudim, and that publicly, showing by the scriptures that Yahusha was Mashiach. Torah, Torah. That's the end of that thing. We finished. Mark said, keep the party going. Let him use he said, because the feast was approaching. So he answered my question that I hit you guys with about why did he have to leave? You know what I'm saying? He had to leave because the feast was approaching. And he said the end goal is Yahushua, right? Yeah, of course. The end goal is Yah's salvation, is to be one approved of Yah, right? To be a son of Yah. His son is who he's coming back to receive. His son is who he's coming back to save. He's not coming back to save anybody outside of his son. That's why Paul said, howbeit he has deemed us worthy to be called the sons of Elua, right? You know who Yahusha was? He was the son of Elua. He was the Ben of Yah, his chosen representative. And we have been uh, 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 called and made available to be the same. In the same place it was said, you are no nation. The same place it said, you are no people. It shall be said, you are my people. So told I y'all for that. You know what I'm saying? But told I y'all, man, we about 4 hours in. Almost 4 hours in, 3 hours and 56 minutes on this thing. So told I y'all, man, shout out to everybody that joined me. Shout out to everybody that will join. Um, it's quite the long study, but all praises to the Most High Yah, the Creator of the heavens and the earth, the seas and everything in them, the Shemaim, the Arats, and uh the Yam, the Yamim, right, and everything in them. Uh, I got a lot. I got a lot from this, right? So I hope you got a lot from this. So, um, Todayah to the Savior, Yahushua HaMashiach, the completion of Yah's will. May we be found in Him. See, that's how you got to be found in Yeshua, in Mashiach. That's how you covered by Him. You covered by Him because you are like unto Him. If you like unto Him, He ain't gonna be punished because of how He was. So if you like Him, guess what? You ain't gonna be punished. Okay, that's how you are found a good and faithful servant. That means you completed. Who? That means you found perfection. At least perfection in Yahusha. Okay. That means you were given instruction. You got an order. You followed it, and you've arrived. Okay. That wicked servant, he was given instruction. He's wicked because he didn't follow it. Okay. And he's gonna be cast into everlasting darkness, where there's great weeping and gnashing of teeth because of his disobedience. May that not be us. So until next time, shalom, shalom to the brethren, and it's 12 tribes, but it's one nation. Hallelujah.